of slow motion national decline is a choice. Today is our 2-year-old's birthday. And I look at my daughter, and that is my why. For those that are parents, you know exactly what I mean.
There is no mountain that stands tall as your faithfulness. There is no river that runs wide as your goodness.
Man, Charlie, I remember when we were starting these out, and
It was that, like that.
you know, it was like this. It was like your average
First 3 rows.
It was like your average political meeting where there was like 12 people in a room, and this is awesome.
This, in my personal opinion, was the most over-the-top Trump event that I've ever covered.
This is the #1 boots on the ground operation in the country. We're working directly in harmony with the Trump campaign. It's been vetted, it's been cleared, it's been blessed, as you can see there, and we're going to try to win this thing. No guarantees. It's what we do that matters.
Mr. President, I can tell you this room is 100% with you, and we have your back. God bless you. We really do. Thank you.
As you know, we are heading on campus here momentarily at the University of South Florida, throwing it down with the students. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are excited to continue this cultural movement that we have started at Turning Point USA. More high school chapters, more college chapters, and disagreement is not just welcome, it is invited. We want to have those tough conversations. That's what it's all about.
Because you're not supposed to be involved in this. You're supposed to just kind of be on the vote for me every 4 years, give me more political power, and stay out of my business. And what has happened is we are seeing an explosion in citizen participation.
There is nothing else I'll ever need. All of my days, your mercy follows me. Oh, there is nothing else I'll ever need.
Knock on that extra door. Go that extra mile. Talk to that extra friend. Because throughout voting month and culminating on the 5th of November, I believe it will go down as a day that people remember, as a day that is written about in history books, as the final battle from the golden escalator on down, from defeating Hillary Clinton, from the nonsense of 2020, from Butler, Pennsylvania, November 5th, it all culminates where we restore the promise that the founders gave us. And they said, hey, if the people want it, the people get it. And we, the people, take back America. God bless Arizona, and thank you so much. Every day, the American people demand certain accomplishments and victories.
Disagreement is what keeps a movement alive, keeps a movement fun.
Here in this country, we are a country of flourishing. We're a country of risk-taking. We're a country of building. We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.
All of my days, your mercy follow me.
Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. This is Andrew Colvett, filling in for the one and only Charlie Kirk. Nobody can. And we wanted so badly to do this show for all of you today. And I wanted the friends of this show and of Charlie that knew him best, the Thought Crime crew, to be here in the studio to commemorate our friend, our dear brother, for this sacred, this solemn moment, this occasion none of us ever dreamed we would have to do. And here we are, because Charlie would want us to be here. He would be upset if we weren't here. And we, of course, have left his chair open and empty, because nobody will ever fill it. Nobody could ever hope to. But by all of us together, we want to honor him, and we want to be more like him, and we want to be inspired by him, and we want you in the audience to know him like we knew him, and to be up close and personal to the front row seat to history, to a legend, to an American icon that we got every single day. And I don't know why we were so fortunate and blessed to be those people, those few that got to see it so up close. He touched millions. He personally knew tens of thousands. And somehow we were the blessed ones that got to be close to him. And in the chats, we got yelled at by him. We got pushed to more and to be better because of Charlie and by Charlie. And so we have, to my right, Jack Posobiec, Blake Neff, and Tyler Boyer, and myself, Andrew Colvett, the executive producer of the Charlie Kirk Show. And we are so honored to share what we know about Charlie, and to do it on a day where the authorities tell us that his killer has been brought into custody. And I want to say personally thank you to Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, Governor Cox. You told us you would not stop until you got him, and I admit that my faith wavered at times as the hours stretched on, but you appeared to have the suspect in custody, and we're grateful that you have not slept, you did not rest, just like you promised, and you are men of your word, and we are grateful to you. And so with that, I just want to, again, welcome my friends, and Jack, I'm going to start with you. Tell us what's on your heart right now, brother.
Well, you know, it's like, I know the seat looks empty, but it's not. The seat isn't empty at all. Because in a way, Charlie is the only thing we're all thinking about right now. We can't think of anything else, really. We can't think straight. I mean, we can read and we can talk, but at the end of the day, all we're thinking about is Charlie. And we know that Charlie is looking down on us. And I know that when we all gather here, it's like he's here.
Yeah.
And that's why no one wants to sit there, because he is there. We were saying thank yous just there, and the only thing that I guess I would add is, you know, we're hearing these reports that family members of the suspect were involved, particularly the father, in bringing him to the police, bringing him to the authorities. And if that's true, I'd just like to extend a sincere thank you and gratitude to something like that. As a father, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine what that must be like. But to have done that is it just shows the ultimate goodness and the ultimate righteousness that still does exist in this country, and the fact that people are willing to step up and do the right thing even in impossible odds. And that's the Charlie Kirk spirit. That's always been the Charlie Kirk spirit, is to stare down impossible odds and say, I'm going to do it anyway, when everybody told him he couldn't. And that's the Charlie Kirk I know, that when you told him he couldn't do it, he'd say, figure it out. Tyler, I'm sure he told you that more times than you can count.
It's been really hard. I mean, we've been able to lean on each other, I think, talking a lot to one another about the memories, and that's probably, I think, the most important thing that we can do today is share those memories. I've been telling everybody that's reached out on our staff. I mean, we've hired thousands of people in Turning Point, and it hasn't been easy. That's been part of the battle on Charlie. It's like, I'm going to miss those, right, Tyler? You know, conversations when we are sitting around. Because you don't really know the battles unless you've been in them. But there's so many people that have looked at Charlie along the way as a mentor, that all have different emotions and they have different stories. And I've told people, write them down. Every single person that's reached out to me, I'm so sorry, Tyler. I'm just like, please just write down your memories that you had, because some of these stories are so unbelievably funny. They're so unbelievable in general because God's hand has been such a big part of Charlie's story and legacy. I'm so sorry.
No, it's we're all right there. We're all right there.
And for those of us that have been close, like we've talked about, we've seen Evan's hand is part of that, and that has to be accentuated, because that's what Charlie wanted. We talked about that all the time with people invested in Turning Point, all the major stakeholders. That, you know, a lot of people look at this as political dynamo, the dynamics of all of that, but all of this has been, you know, even through this tragic week, I believe that that God has been with Charlie from day one, and will continue to be.
Blake, I want to. You're next, buddy. So get ready. But I want to just comment on what you're saying, because one of the last trips that I took with Charlie was a couple weeks ago, and we were flying all over the country, spent hours on the plane, and I said to him, "Isn't it crazy? Like, you know, we were talking about South Park, we were talking about just everything. Like, we just kind of had a moment," and he's just like, "Yeah, it's all God." He just instantly goes, "Yeah, it's all God. It's all God." And as I was driving to the office in the studio this morning, I thought to myself, it was always God, and God has not pulled his hand away from Charlie Kirk. He did not pull his hand away from Turning Point. He did not pull his hand away from this country. It was always God that got us here. There were so many times, and I want the audience to know this, there were so many times where we felt like our backs were so against the wall that we were not going to get through whatever it was. That this thing happened, or this. It was just so many things. It's impossible right now. Now's not the time to get into the details. There was just so many things, and Charlie and I would feel the weight of the world when we would talk to each other. And I know you felt it, and I know you felt it, and I know you felt it. And then we got through it, and it was God. And somehow we came out stronger and better. And Charlie had more influence, and our reach, and our staff, and everything just kept growing time and time again. And he knew that it was all God's hand. He knew it was all the blessing of God on him and on this organization and on the show.
Yesterday I said Charlie's on assignment from God, and he always has been.
Every time you filled in for Charlie, you said, "Well, Charlie's on assignment," and
so now he's on assignment from God.
He's on,
and he always was. So
we are live on national radio right now, and so we have to take a quick radio break for the stream. We're going to keep going, and Real America's Voice, we're going to keep going. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, Blake, it is your turn. And I want everybody to know that probably nobody traveled with Charlie more than Blake. And the last, I'd say, 18 months, except maybe Mikey.
Mikey, for sure.
Mikey, but you traveled to London with him. You went to Korea with him. Blake, the floor is yours.
Thanks. I feel unworthy to be here. You guys all knew him a lot longer than I did. Compared to a lot of people here, Charlie entered my life pretty recently. I remember you called me out of the blue almost exactly 3 years ago, first week of October 22. And I don't want to get into the details of it, but I can say Charlie had a drastic impact on my life. He basically gave me my life back. And I don't know how to express how grateful I am for that. And how just over the past 3 years, how much I came to admire him. Not just for how talented of a person he was, but how good of a person he was. And how everything he fought for was because he believed it would be good for the country and good for every single person in it. And I'll always think one of the final things I was doing with him, I mentioned with you, Jack, yesterday.
Yeah.
The last speech he gave was in Japan to an audience.
Buddhists.
No Buddhists, Shinto, no
Yeah.
Christians in it, or maybe a handful, but not many.
Christians.
And, it was about immigration. It was about other stuff, but he wanted to include, I should witness to the faith, regardless of where we're going. And we talked about how he could do that. And we put it into the speech 5 minutes before he went up there, and he did it. And because it was that important to him that he do that. It wasn't about just, he wasn't catering to any audience. This is a speech almost nobody in the U.S. would ever see or watch. And most of the audience in Japan might not even get it, but he wanted to do it because it was important to him. And
we got to get that.
Just a minute before
that footage
when it happened, he was witnessing to the gospel there at the college. And
Blake, it gives me some solace and some comfort to know that you were there with him on campus that day. And I was just grateful to be able to call you and know that I at least had somebody that was there and that loved him and that was close, and I could call you. And I'm just glad you were there, man. It's not good. It's not fair to you that you had to be there, but I'm glad that you were. And you and I and Charlie were texting literally moments before he went out to the crowd, and we were talking about arguments and finer points that he could make, and he going over, this kind of question.
What it was about. He was, what are the good arguments in favor of marriage?
Monogamy,
the Christian version of marriage.
Yes,
and it was. That gets back to, one of the other core things, how much he loved Erica, how much he loved their children, how much much he cared for them, and how it really demonstrates the power of that, familial love, because we all talked about how they made him better too. And
man, isn't that the truth?
You see Charlie like pre-Erica and then Charlie post Erica, and it's still Charlie, but it's like more
better clothes. They actually fit him.
No, we were just talking about this yesterday.
And he's a father, and
no, it was like night and day difference. So I used to be worried about Charlie dressing
Erica
himself.
is legitimately the real MVP.
I don't just mean the fashion. I don't just mean the fashion.
No, I don't just mean the
we were talking about because Charlie's
Let's talking about that.
It's rough because
the visible part.
Charlie's birthday's in about a month, and I used to buy him clothes on his birthday as an excuse to buy him like sneakers, because he wouldn't wear sneakers. He would only wear dress shoes.
That's right.
And then Erica came, and then I was like so relieved because he would wear clothes that like he looked better than anyone, at that
like a
point,
normal
so.
person.
No, he looked better than everybody because Erica's incredibly stylish and great.
And she
it was just like
that.
he went from like the Stone Age to like he now had this incredibly well manicured dress.
I love this vein. We want to tell you about Erica, and we're gonna welcome back National Radio. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. This is Andrew Colvett, executive producer of this fine show, as Charlie Kirk has gone on assignment with God, and we, his friends, are here remembering him. And we were just talking about Erica Kirk, and the before and after Erica Kirk story is a really amazing story. And I was
trying to make a poignant, deep. Emotional, spiritual.
I have been basically crying for 2.5 days, and I'm remembering Charlie being when I first met him. It was like everything was baggy, and like the suits didn't fit, and like the collars were always like out like this.
Because they're playing those videos now.
Yes.
When he's younger, and
yes.
I was showing Andrew an image. It was so funny because
studio, could we get like an OG CK shot with his baggy suit?
I'll send one that's like a perfect one. But he was.
You need the before and after shot.
It was like a very baggy suit, and it just. But you know what? But
this is kind of very. This isn't with a suit, but this was like.
No. I've got a perfect one. But anyways, the point is like, but his spirit shined through so brightly.
It didn't
matter.
No,
like
of course.
That's what it was like. I remember being in some of these meetings. I was like, oh my gosh, like because he would carry around the backpack. He had this big black backpack that had his initials on it. He had that forever, and he had forever one pair of shoes, dress shoes that he wore, and then these big. But it didn't matter. Like none of that mattered.
Nothing.
Every single person that talked to him, every one of these big time donors, early on, like big time. I mean, he would just be able to break through to every single one of those people, and
it was always
so special.
It was his unique voice, and this is why Charlie would go viral on campus. He would never pull any punches. The guy would say, he would say the truth with 100% fidelity. Do you know what I mean? It was like men and women, like, are different. Two sexes. Like, it was never like,
there's no equivocation.
No, there was no like, well, some people feel this. No, it was like, it's wrong when people steal. Does it make it okay that they were poor? No, it's wrong, right? And it was just, he had this moral clarity that he was just blessed by God with, and he would not cut any corners with it. And so, it didn't matter the suit he was wearing. It didn't matter his fashion. Although I will tell you.
But Erica
made his looks much better. And I will also tell you that his friends, Don Jr., Gentry Beach,
Don,
they gave him like a gift card at one
stylist.
point, a $10,000 like credit at the Trump tailor in New York City, in Manhattan, to get him some proper suits. It was like one of these things that they
Charlie,
were
if you're going to be around, you
if
gotta,
you're going to hang around with us, Charlie, we need you to.
You gotta
look a little bit more put together.
We're going to take care of that a little bit.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a.
Oh my gosh, Tyler, get this up.
You have to see it. This is the pre Erica, and then Erica came in, and then. Looked immediately.
I love it.
I mean, immediately better. I mean, I'm not even kidding. It's like
sorry,
overnight.
Charlie, we got to.
The real miracle is that Erica went for it. You know what I mean? She's seeing the baggy shirt. No, I mean she knew, he knew.
No, but that's female, right? That's the female. Tanya was the same with me. It's the female. I see the thing, and I want to nurture it. I want to grow it.
Michelangelo could see a block of marble,
and he would chisel away.
He would just bring the David out. He's like, the David's already in there.
Right.
I just have to reveal it.
I want to say it's typically not a good idea to say, I think I could change this man or something for the women watching, but you can polish.
They're not. Yeah,
they're not the deeper. No, not the deeper.
Bringing forth.
And you could never change Charlie's spirit, right? But
that's exactly right.
But what she did, I think, if anything, just in terms of this, is make it so that the external match the internal.
Yeah, sure. And I will say as well, though, that Charlie's faith became so much stronger as soon as Erica came around. And he started vocalizing it more. And for those of you in the audience that don't know Erica Kirk, the woman is a lioness. She is fierce. She is strong. She's obviously like distraught and hurting, as we all are, but she is fierce and she is strong. And I want you to know that about her, that I have seen her up close. And Tyler, you've been there as well with us. She is so strong. And Charlie wanted to marry her because of how strong she was. And ultimately, he knew that she could do this life that he was leading. And Charlie was already leading a crazy life when they met and when they fell in love and when they got married. And he knew that she had the strength in her core. And she is also such an incredible woman of faith. He knew that she could do this, and he was 100% right about Erica Kirk. She is truly something amazing, and we all love her dearly. Radio, we'll be right back. Tyler, why don't you tell the story of how you inadvertently connected Charlie with his wife?
So it's this is the miracle of the entire thing, which is incredible, and I don't think we can talk about it enough. It's Trump, it's Erica, it's Arizona, it's Turning Point.
You couldn't script this any better. Let me just set 2 points.
I told a little bit of it yesterday.
Yeah, Tyler, I think you've told this story a few times on the show. So let's big picture context here. Tyler pulled off the first Trump rally, the very first one in Arizona, and there's a lot of crazy details that go into it. But the first one, Tyler gets the credit.
But the most important part of that, truly in the background, is that Erica Kirk is at that rally, and we don't focus on it. We've talked about the rally and all that with Trump getting reelected.
She's in the background of the main shot.
So right behind Trump, people don't know this. We can put it up. There is right behind Trump on stage, first Trump rally ever. And again, they were expecting this to be a 100-person rally. They were like wanting to give refreshments.
You didn't even call it a rally, right?
Well, so the original was supposed to be
Corey Lewandowski.
Corey Lewandowski was like, "Can you get 100 people in a room? We'll provide refreshments. We'll give you money, whatever." And I'm like, "No, we don't need any of that. We can get lots of people there." And we started doing this, and it starts to go bonkers, right? Because I'll give credit to Jake Hoffman, who is the president of the Freedom Caucus here. He's a state senator. He was my unpaid comms director, who was actually the guy that helped start Charlie's Instagram with me and start all the Turning Point, like all the Turning Point assets that we have on social media now, by the way, too. But we started just going bonkers with all the media. And so then I started fielding calls from everywhere. It was crazy everywhere. And one of the calls I got was from Erica. And she's like, "Hey, I was Miss Arizona. I love Donald Trump. Can I be involved?" I'm like, "Absolutely." So I met her, and I was like, "We've got to put her behind the president." So I had my family behind the president. My grandpa, who just passed away just a few months ago, who loved Charlie, loved the show, everything, listened daily. It was my grandpa, my dad-in-law, Lauren, my wife, and Erica is up there.
Yeah.
So Erica, afterwards,
we gotta find the picture.
After this, I'll pull it up. After this rally, I meet with Erica, and I'm like, "There's a way that we can." She's faith-based. So this is the funniest part. She's faith-based. She's so centered on Christ. We've got to lean in and involve her here because we were starting the initial talks about Turning Point Faith or TPUSA Faith, and I was trying to recruit her hard to come work for us. And so through all that, I had introduced her to Charlie. I was like, "I think she could be great. She could be wonderful." And Charlie was immediately in love, absolutely in love. And I was like,
it was straight
Charlie, going back, and that's where it's like the tee up with, the clothes, everything else. I was like, "Charlie, I don't know, like this is
so he was trying to impress her a little more.
This is Miss Arizona, so I was nervous.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know if we don't want to scare her away, right? Like we don't have to work for us, So, but like that's great. Let's feel out. And so Charlie did the right thing. He did everything perfectly, as Charlie always does. Did everything perfectly. I dropped him off. He was at the office here, which he was rarely at the office because he was always on the plane. And he had set up a date to go meet her at the gym, because it's a fancier, nicer gym that's in the North Valley. And I took him over and I dropped him off there. And it was the whole car ride over there was pep talk. So, all right, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to say. Hey, if she says this, don't do that. And he's like, well, what do I do if because Charlie had a number of dates, but not that many people. He's busy. He's a busy guy. He just didn't.
Yeah.
And so it went immaculately. And after that, they'd met again in New York, where she was living at the time. And he had made a special trip just to go there.
Yeah, he made an excuse. This is what Charlie would do. He would go somewhere and he would make an excuse that was like a formal reason to be there, but there was always kind of like an ulterior motive where, you know.
But it was these are the memories. I'm putting out a tweet right now that's saying just write down these memories, because until just now I just forgot about that. Was like driving him over in my car, just having that conversation, which was just like, and again, Andrew, I know you've had many of these, all of us have had many of these conversations one-on-one with Charlie, of just like the pep talks. Because, you know, even though Charlie was such a lion of a man, it takes a village, I think, of like having those conversations with one another.
It takes a family.
It takes a family.
Yeah, but he would position people in places to be able to speak to him and give him like that, like before he took the stage, like, okay, you know.
But he would always, it's like, he would always just want that, even though you knew that he didn't need it.
And but you know the other thing is, you'd think you had a really good idea, and you're like, no, and I give it to him, and be like, okay, and then he would always chew the meat and spit out the bones. He was always so good at filtering out your bad ideas without like making you feel terrible. We got to Welcome Back Radio, so. All right, welcome back to our national radio audience at the Charlie Kirk Show. We are remembering the one and only Charlie Kirk, and it's his friends that are doing it. I'm joined by Jack Posobiec, Blake Neff, another producer on the show, and Tyler Boyer, the COO of Turning Point Action, who helped Charlie meet his lovely bride, and that's what we're currently talking about.
Well, and that's like, to that point, Erica became that person. Like you were saying,
yeah,
right? Erica became the person that would, you know, and it was a two-way road. You know, you'd have to filter out some of Charlie's bad ideas too at times. And Erica is, you know, has become the best at that. She is the go-to, and I know that that was the most valuable thing. But to put a pin in it, that weird situation though, which was that moment where I was sitting there with Charlie, and the Trump rally culminated, and Eric was there, and then became his wife. Like, the entire thing is like, again, you talk about God things. Clearly, God has his hand, had his hand, and watching over Charlie constantly.
Well, this is the Charlie Kirk Show, and we played. Sorry, we played an opening, but radio didn't get to hear that. And we put together a Charlie Kirk. Which number is it, Blake? Do you have it? We put together just a montage of some great Charlie Kirk moments, and I think it is 443 is the number. We put together a montage for the audience of Charlie in his own words, and he loved this show so much. He loved this show, and I remember one time when I talked to him, and I said, who's your greatest hero? And this space, you know, obviously Donald Trump's the president, and, you know, that was the obvious answer, but like, no Trump, you know, like, who? And he said Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah.
And Charlie got to know Rush personally. I think we had basically the last big event that Rush did was introducing the president. Yeah,
the last two.
Yeah,
so he never made public appearances.
Yeah,
and
he's a very private person.
He came to our event at Mar-a-Lago. So we were one of the first groups to do anything with fundraisers, things like that at Mar-a-Lago. People don't know that we actually did it very small. But Rush had such a personal connection with Charlie, and this was kind of early too, before Charlie was kind of a known quantity everywhere. Really leaned in and showed up.
Yeah, and Charlie actually went to Rush's house, picked him up in the car, and drove him there. And we gave.
He lived right up the street.
Yeah, in West Palm Beach, or he lived in Palm Beach. But Rush was his hero, and he listened to Rush. Rush was so influential in just the way Charlie thought about politics. And if you want to know why Charlie never lost the Grassroots, he was always so into the Grassroots. It's because you emailed him. It's because he looked at your emails. He looked at all the comments. He could do 48 things, it seemed like, at once. The most amazing multitasker I've ever seen.
When I would be here and we'd be on the show during breaks, even, I'm going to say it, even sometimes when interviewing people, he'd be looking at the camera and yet somehow also on his computer, switching between tabs, texting, emailing, reading faster than you could even grasp what was going on.
The amount of emails he would share, like in the middle of a show segment, like right after you came out, or even like in between someone else giving an answer.
Like, oh, Jack, you got to check out this email.
Here's this email I got from.
Look at this. And you're like reading the last 3 things that he sent you.
No, he's always 2 steps ahead.
And his speed was, I have no idea how he did it. And what's crazy too is you could see it would be like, oh, hey, I got something from the Speaker of the House. Oh, here's the president's son. And then here's a guy I met walking his dog and he needs a ballot. Tyler, make sure this guy gets a ballot, you know? Yes. It didn't make any difference to him who he was talking to.
But he never lost sight of the Grassroots. And one of the guiding lights for that, and we set up freedom@charliekirk.com, and please send your tributes to Charlie, your thoughts, your prayers, anything that's on your mind to freedom@charliekirk.com, and I will do my best to read them. And Blake, you're going to help read them, and Jack and Tyler, and we want to see what you have to say to Charlie. That's freedom@charliekirk.com. And Rush always had his email dialogue with his listeners, and Charlie took note of that, and that it kept him close to the people, because this world can get very insulating, and Charlie never let that happen. That's why he went to college campuses, because he learned and he knew and he saw what kids were really thinking. He always made such a point to stay so close to the public, even though he was so stratospherically famous. We couldn't take him anywhere. I mean, it was really at that point of stardom and fame that we couldn't take Charlie anywhere. But it all started with a love of the spoken word and what Rush Limbaugh told him, and he would take lunch breaks from school just to listen to Rush Limbaugh. And so to have this show and to be behind the microphone was one of the greatest honors of his life, and he did not take it for granted. He loved it, and he saw it as a way to pipe the vanguard of the current thinking on the current debates into the zeitgeist, and to keep the base steady and keep the coalition together. So without further ado, I want to play the show tribute that our team put together. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't wait to watch it. This is 4:43.
I want to thank my great friend, Charlie Kirk. He's done something that is just incredible for somebody really of his age. You need tremendous talent to do what he's done. Building one of the most powerful youth organizations ever created, Turning Point USA, and I want to thank you, really, Charlie. Incredible job.
I have the greatest job in the world. I couldn't be happier. Every day I feel as if what I'm saying, what I'm doing is making a difference, giving people meaning.
Charlie, you should have emotion. This is a moment. You totally reformed the GOP, and look what you guys have done. Here's some words here from you, Charlie. You put all this together, my man. Let's hear it.
I am just humbled by God's grace.
It's all God. It's all God. God alone.
It's done.
It's beginning.
We did not earn this. This is God's mercy on our country.
Yes.
You're on the Lord's side. He's not on.
Last week, we welcomed our beautiful daughter into the world. Most important thing that one can do except giving your life to Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. Erica and I and our family were celebrating the birth of our son.
I'm finding out how honest you are, Charlie, and so far I think you're doing good. and I hope I'm doing good with you.
Candace Owens, welcome back.
Yes, good to be back. I'm a Charlie Kirk show.
So, Megan, there's a lot happening right now, and I recently went on the Bill Maher show. I want to get your reaction. Matt, walk us through the decades-long journey from 2015 to today on the public opinion battle. Michael, why are people going back to church?
People are going back to church because the atheism ran out of steam.
Ben, thank you for taking the time. I was moved by your podcast on Monday about how we must stare the evil in the face. Pete, you're doing a phenomenal job. I just want to say that from the American people that you don't get the credit that you deserve, obviously, in the mainstream media.
We are here with Stephen K. Bannon.
Charlie, I never roll through this town without seeing you. Well, it's always the highlight.
It's that's the advantage of being in Phoenix, is that you're like one of the only shows in town, so everyone kind of just comes on by.
I'm sick of people stealing my stick.
Wait, so a campus thing I've been doing for 13 years to debate random college kids has now been so important that it gets prominent primetime placement on Comedy Central. I think the whole thing is just awesome. Bobby Kennedy, welcome back to the program.
Charlie, thanks for having me.
They canceled the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, when it was my father. If they can do that to him, they can do it to anyone. If they can't do it if we're all banded together and we're fighting one battle.
Don Jr., everybody. Very special hour episode for you today. My wife joins us, Erica Kirk,
Hi,
the beautiful,
everyone.
legendary Erica.
I love you so much.
I love you.
You're my best friend.
Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show.
Thanks, babe.
Was blind, but now I see.
Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and God bless.
Ooh, that's a great job, guys.
Really good job.
We miss him.
That last shot of him walking off stage.
I miss my friend. You know, one of the things that Charlie was kind of interesting early in Charlie's career was he wasn't. He's a prolific speaker, obviously. He's a genius on stage, but he wasn't really interested in, you know, spotlight. It's a really interesting piece to him was that it was. I think that's kind of like almost like I was talking with people, and the best analogy to Charlie was that he was very much in the "come follow me" spirit of Christ. I think that's what the most Christ-like thing about him was that people wanted to follow him. Sorry, I just can't get through all this. But he didn't want spotlight, and I think that was part of his. And so when I had suggested with our events team that we do bigger things, that we do consider, because we have more people who want to show up and we have more kids and all that. It wasn't about that for him. It wasn't. People watched these things and they're like, we went rock star. We went full rock star on Charlie Kirk, and a lot of that is thanks to Andrew. I mean, without a doubt, you know, we give Erica 100% made him rock star.
I give you more credit for that because
Andrew,
you forced him to do it, and then eventually he embraced it. But
he wasn't interested in that.
But he
though.
also wasn't your sort of like central casting character to do it.
No,
and you made him embark out on a much bigger vision.
But this is the point with Charlie, was that he was a very humble person. Yeah. And I don't want that to change with like how people start to take the memory of Charlie because he's big. He wasn't interested in what the stage looked like or like who was there, what the spotlight looked like. He just wanted to tell the truth. He just wanted to tell people what they needed to hear. And he was really good at that. But everything else built around him for the right reasons. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like I'm like spitting like tears everywhere and everything else. It's like Splashstone. But his legacy is going to be what you said, Andrew, is that he was a incredibly humble person that was thrust into something that was so much bigger than all of us, so much bigger than him. But he was the perfect person for the perfect time.
He always told young people, be a part of something bigger than yourself, and he is the most iconic example of that I think any of us can imagine. And we're gonna take a break from radio. We'll be right back on the stream. All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. I wasn't going to do this, but I think the team was absolutely spot on. People want something to remember Charlie by.
I've been getting message after message, email, comment, this huge outpouring of people saying, and because Charlie, as we all know, he loved T-shirts, apparel,
He was
hats.
always like, get me one that says that, get me one that says that. And, like, literally, the team would screen press them almost on a 2-hour turn.
And it's because he understood that is a physical, real messaging platform that you can wear in the real world, in the real space.
That would be seen.
That would be seen
billions of times in Charlie's instance.
And he wanted, so whatever the message that he wanted to send or what he was thinking about would usually be what he would wear. And there'd be times where he'd have, a different one on 5 days a week if you watch the show. And that was all very, I just didn't mean to say, it's very deliberate. It was not like some random thing.
No. He loved his different shirts. And so please put them back on screen, guys.
So
here they are. And they are available for purchase. We're going to, as many as everybody wants. We don't have them made yet, so please be gracious with us. We're going to get them out as fast as we can. CharlieKirkStore.com, CharlieKirkStore.com. And I think the team did an amazing job with them. And the middle one is I Am Charlie Kirk.
I've seen so many people saying that.
Yeah. And it's
taken off.
It's a beautiful testament, and I love it. And I want one. And the other one is I'm just humbled by God's grace. And that, of course, was from election night, November 2024, when Charlie got news that Pennsylvania had been called by Fox News for Donald Trump, and that he would be the 47th president of the United States.
Right,
and that,
right in this room.
That viral video, it happened right here.
Right in this chair.
And
Right
Charlie
here.
put his hands up to his face, and a man who doesn't cry very often got misty-eyed, and he gave all the glory to God, and I love that, and I'm so glad that they picked that moment. And then the other one is the Freedom shirt, and it has the date that it happened, and that's the shirt that he was wearing. And we put the Turning Point hook on that sleeve as well. And so if you want to honor Charlie, and obviously you want to help the show, that would be amazing.
Can I shout out you guys real quick? I mean, we have so many good people who work for Charlie, his show, his personal side. People don't talk about this. I was careful not to talk about this because Charlie, again, didn't like the spotlight of it all. But part of the reason why this show exists is because Charlie didn't want to do things that would cost money from Turning Point. For years and years and years and years, Charlie didn't take a salary from Turning Point. He paid himself. I know this because I was the one that had to approve payrolls at Turning Point for 7 years. He paid himself like $30,000 a year, then a little bit.
He didn't take a wage for the first 5 years, and then his first wage I think was like 20.
Tiny. It was tiny.
15,000 the first year.
It was
20.
tiny. And
30,
I know that because mine was tiny too when I came over. It was like insane, and then the part of the show was that he was able to give back, so it cost Turning Point nothing for Charlie to run Turning Point.
Yeah, people don't know this. Charlie gave. There was this stupid AP article I'll never forget where they tried
I don't even want to give it.
I know,
That
but they
was
tried to
so-
make it sound like Charlie was somehow taking money from donors or something, or
But-
fleecing the donors. But here's the truth: Charlie paid back his salary and then some back to Turning Point every year. He donated back all that. Here's 1 second, guys. Gonna welcome back radio. Go ahead, Tyler.
Well,
I didn't mean to interrupt.
I was just gonna say this is that he was able to do something beyond anyone else. So there's great people that people admire a lot. Rush is one of those people, but Rush didn't build in his spare time a Turning Point USA, a Turning Point Action, and all that, right? Like Charlie did all that, gave it all back essentially for that. And then we have the whole point of why I'm saying this is we have so many good people here at the show that work here that produce it to get truth out. Because again, what that Charlie was interested in wasn't spotlight. It was getting the truth out. It was doing something bigger than himself. And every single person that's here that are back behind the glass right now and that are in this building that are across campus here at Turning Point headquarters, join Charlie on that vision and are part of that. And so with that, we talked about the shirts and everything else. Please support this mission to continue Charlie's voice with Charlie's show, because there's so many good people here that have done that. And I know Andrew's
Erica looked at me yesterday and she said the show has to keep going and Turning Point has to grow even bigger. And I hope I'm at liberty to say that. I think she would want me to say that.
Yeah.
And so we don't know what the future holds for everything, at least, with fine detail, but we know that will happen, that we will honor that. And I know Charlie would want that to happen.
That's the only way to honor Charlie is to for everything to get bigger and to, again, that point, which is that this is bigger than any singular person, but honoring Charlie's memory permanently with making Turning Point bigger, and the mission, which is activate as many human beings as possible to do the work, to do the Lord's work, and to do the work to save the Republic.
So put those shirts back up.
I think that's where that
for the radio. If you can go to charliekirkstore.com, charliekirkstore.com. We have 3 options. The election night shirt is a drawing of him putting his hands on his face after he found out that Trump was going to be elected the 47th president, and he said, "I'm just humbled by God's grace." And that's a beautiful one. I'm Charlie Kirk, and people love that. I'm Charlie Kirk. I've been seeing that everywhere. And then we have the shirt, the Freedom shirt that he was wearing, and with the date on it, and the Turning Point hook also on that sleeve.
I think that message in the center shirt there, I'm Charlie Kirk, that speaks to what Tyler's talking about. It's the Charlie Kirk spirit, right? I was saying this yesterday on an interview, who's the next Charlie Kirk? Well, there isn't a next Charlie Kirk, but Charlie, if you asked him that in public, right, he would say, you go get a megaphone or, a chair and go to your local park and set up a folding table on camp, whatever it is, right? Whatever public place you can be, and go do this too. And so it doesn't mean, it's not about him, right? It's about you take that Charlie Kirk spirit and go and be the next one and go set up your chapter or go set up your thing and go be that person. And that, I think, is the message that's now, and you see this, it's around the world. It's completely, we'll talk about it later, but it's totally around the world. I'm getting messages from I don't even want to say, but just countries that you wouldn't even believe had heard of Charlie are doing vigils for Charlie.
I actually do want to talk about that at length, because one of the things that I've realized, and I tweeted about this or posted about this last night on X, there was a video of a vigil that was sent to me, and I said, I've constantly had to recalibrate my internal clock, because you kind of know
exactly what you mean.
How famous Charlie is, and then something else would kind of blow your mind and be like, whoa, he's actually way bigger. And Blake, I'm sure you had a bunch of those even in Seoul. You're like, whoa, people know him here. But yeah, I am realizing that as much as I tried to recalibrate, I'm probably 2 years behind, actually how famous he was, in my internal clock. And in his death, and Trump said this beautifully actually this morning on Fox. I don't know what clip it is. I'm sure we have it.
We'll play that.
Yeah, that he's even bigger. He was huge, and now he's a worldwide icon. And
before we get away off the topic, and I know there's a break, I want to piggyback on Tyler and just say thank you to the staff for being here today, and
their hearts are broken too, guys.
Impossible task.
And all of our Turning Point staff now are at home with family as is expected. But again, for here being part of the show and honoring Charlie, I mean, that's just such a hard thing to ask people to do. And I can't thank you each enough.
Everybody behind the glass, seriously, thank you for being here. It's
Thank
not
you
easy.
to our amazing team. They really are amazing, and Charlie loved them dearly. Radio, we'll see you again in a couple minutes. We're going to keep streaming for a few seconds.
A lot of young people on campuses, at our events, on my radio show, podcast, and social media. Said differently, I visit college campuses so you don't have to. We're talking to so many voters that know it is time for change. They know that something is wrong. America's future is a series of choices. Our current state of slow motion national decline is a choice. Today is our 2-year-old's birthday. And I look at my daughter, and that is my why. For those that are parents, you know exactly what I mean.
There is no mountain that stands tall as your faithfulness. There is no river that runs wide as your goodness.
Man, Charlie, I remember when we were starting these out, and
It was that, like that.
you know, it was like this. It was like your average
First 3 rows.
It was like your average political meeting where there was like 12 people in a room, and this is awesome.
This, in my personal opinion, was the most over-the-top Trump event that I've ever covered.
This is the #1 boots on the ground operation in the country. We're working directly in harmony with the Trump campaign. It's been vetted, it's been cleared, it's been blessed, as you can see there, and we're going to try to win this thing. No guarantees. It's what we do that matters. Mr. President, I can tell you this room is 100% with you, and we have your back. God bless you. We really do. Thank you. As you know, we are heading on campus here momentarily at the University of South Florida, throwing it down with the students. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are excited to continue this cultural movement that we have started at Turning Point USA. More high school chapters, more college chapters, and disagreement is not just welcome, it is invited. We want to have those tough conversations. That's what it's all about. You're not supposed to be involved in this. You're supposed to just kind of be on the vote for me every 4 years, give me more political power, and stay out of my business. And what has happened is we are seeing an explosion in citizen participation.
There is nothing else I'll ever need. All of my days, your mercy follows me. Oh, there is nothing else I'll ever need.
Knock on that extra door. Go that extra mile. Talk to that extra friend. Because throughout voting month and culminating on the 5th of November, I believe it will go down as a day that people remember, as a day that is written about in history books, as the final battle from the golden escalator on down, from defeating Hillary Clinton, from the nonsense of 2020, from Butler, Pennsylvania, November 5th, it all culminates where we restore the promise that the founders gave us. and they said, hey, if the people want it, the people get it. And we, the people, take back America. God bless Arizona, and thank you so much.
Every day, the American people demand certain accomplishments and victories. Disagreement is what keeps a movement alive, keeps a movement fun.
Here in this country, we are a country of flourishing. We're a country of risk-taking. We're a country of building.
We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.
All of my days, your mercy follow me.
Blake, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you want? All right, welcome back, everybody. Here we are at the Charlie Kirk Show studio. I remember building this studio, and I remember designing it so Charlie would be here, and then he decided he liked it here better, so we flipped everything. And he had to have his Oregon Duck thing over there.
It was the original was a straight line.
Yeah, it was
right?
a straight. Well, this desk actually is modular, and so you can kind of fold it so that the two levels fold into one another, and it was just a desk, and it was supposed to be designed so that if you had guests, it could fold out. And the team could, But he just liked it like this all the time.
Wasn't it? We did one of the election night streams or something, and we set up the V, and he just liked it.
He just liked it.
Left it.
And he just left it that way.
Well, I remember walking into, so the story of this complex is really interesting because we were in Chicago and we came over here and we found this space because we wanted to have a building for Turning Point that was by itself.
Yeah.
And fast forward to, we had to go through and talk every single one of the people in this complex to sell the buildings. So I had to get on the phone with these guys, and luckily we had this incredible kid that was in real estate that helped, and we talked him into it. But I remember walking through this building for the first time, and this is a garage. This was actually a garage. So this was like a shop. Like they had like a bunch of machines and stuff in here, and they used to have all this equipment that was like hanging off, and we just started going through, just yanking stuff out. We're like, this will be the home for Charlie Kirk studio.
And I feel bad for the audience because I'm not sitting in Charlie's seat. You're seeing the profile shot of Tyler because he's looking at me when he's talking. So I apologize to the audience.
That's been everything on the show. That I'm always
That's always
looking at Charlie
because that's Tyler's seat.
I know, and I kept telling the studio, I was
fat.
like, can we get that camera?
Andrew's pointing out this is a blocking violation for film and TV.
It's worth it.
Yeah.
So,
but we've kind of always done it. So,
and I'm going to ask. Let me ask you this when radio gets back on. But I was just talking with we took a quick bio break, as they call it in the business, and I was asking the team. I was like, "What do people want to hear right now?" And the whole team is out there in the bays, and they were like, "People want to hear stories about Charlie, and they want to see the behind-the-scenes stuff." And so I want us to share that with him and with the audience, of our interactions with him. And I don't want to force you to start when we're going to be welcoming back national radio in about a minute. But that's there's that line in the Bible about Jesus where it says, there would be the writing of endless books about all the things that Jesus did. And I feel like, not to compare Charlie to Jesus, but his life is like that, where if you compiled all the little things that he did for all the tens of thousands of people that he interacted with, there would be no end of the books that we could write about his life. And that is it's like so true. Like that's not even at like 31 years on this planet, and that's not even a hyperbolic thing to say. That's not me exaggerating. Is a really remarkable feat. And so, Blake, I'm gonna go. We're just gonna go around the table. I was just gonna put you on the hot seat first, so it wasn't me. But we're gonna welcome back our national radio audience that Charlie loves so much in about 20 seconds. So hang tight, and we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. This is your host for the day, Andrew Colvett, executive producer of this fine show. To those of you listening around the country, we're honoring our friend and the host of this show, Charlie Kirk. And it's his friends, the people that work closely with him to make this show, to make so much of the content, that are gathered around this table in his studio. His chair is empty because nobody will ever be able to fill it. But we wanted a chance to tell you about the Charlie Kirk that we know and that we got to see up close. And we have Jack Posobiec, the great Jack Posobiec, the great Blake Neff, and the great Tyler Boyer, all gathered with myself, Andrew Colvett, executive producer. So our team is telling us that people want to hear more personal stories that you wouldn't have seen if you didn't know Charlie. So Blake, the floor is yours. Tell us a story about Charlie that you think people would like to hear or that haven't heard yet.
Man, I'm thinking of a few things. Personal stuff. I think one of the things that always impressed me about Charlie was his immense personal discipline about everything he did. He had, his day was very ordered. Everything he did was very ordered, and he didn't deviate from that. And if you asked him about that, he'd be like, well, this is the smart thing to do. Why would I do something different? And the thing I'd always tease him about is the number of foods he ate, which is about 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I would joke about this, and I'm not exaggerating. The variation of food Charlie ate was like grilled chicken, avocado, hot sauce, like cabbage,
he wasn't
lettuce,
always like that. Like this
salmon, I guess. And I think he used to have beef, but I think he later decided red meat was probably
Tyler,
more on the bad
when did
than
he
good
start
side.
doing that? He said it was like a couple years ago that he said he wanted to get back in fighting shape or something.
Yeah. Well,
And
Charlie, as long as I've known Charlie, has always been very focused on what he puts inside his body.
Yes.
From day one. I remember, because when I first met Charlie, I was skinny, and then I got, dad fat.
Less skinny.
You got your road layer.
I got dad fat. I put on the pregnancy weight a few times throughout that cycle.
Campaign 30.
But Charlie was always, and he would always kind of yell at me, and Andrew, I'm probably sure you've had some of these situations. Blake probably hasn't, but never got yelled at for what he eats. But he would be like, because I would pound sodas, and I was like, oh yeah, and then it caught up with me.
I was like Charlie's sin eater because I eat everything.
But he would eat piles of singular foods. So it would be stacks of broccoli. He would order that steamed broccoli, or he would order just meat. Right? It would just be meat, and then he would pound through it. He would eat as we're talking, like we didn't have time to waste as we were going. It would just eat. Later in life, I think he enjoyed meals a little bit more. But the early was we were going. He was always in the travel, ready to go, and he would just eat. And I would just sit there and be like, because I would order a normal sandwich and drink a drink, but he would just eat to eat, but it was always healthy. And he would always be like, "You're gonna eat that?" He would look at me like, "You're gonna eat that? You're gonna put that?"
I actually remember, I think the night, I'm pretty sure we were all there too. It was the night of the RNC when he gave his speech there, not the 16 or 20, but the 24. And I think, I want to correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't he have a couple of chicken wings? And he made a huge deal about it.
He had a couple, and we had a huge pile.
Yeah, we had a huge pile of stuff.
It was a cartoonishly vast pile.
But it was
wings.
each, as Tyler was saying, each box was a separate food. And then we had a whole bunch of chicken wings that we were all just chowing down on. And he goes, I will allow myself to have a few.
Well,
and that was huge.
He would find something he liked, and early on he used to say this all the time. He'd be like, "You could build a religion around those things."
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that?
He said that so many
Have you ever heard him say that?
Yes.
We could build a religion around this.
You could build a religion around this thing.
When he found a food he liked, he'd be like, "You could build a religion around this thing, or that thing, or whatever."
But it's the first time he's eating it.
But no, it would. No, it would be. It'd be like, I'd be like, "Oh, I think
these are great. These chicken wings.
You could build a religion."
Yeah, Charlie, we know.
I think I heard Charlie say that no short of 500 times.
There's certain set phrases that were just the Charlie phrases, and when you say them, you could just hear it in his voice because that's the only guy who talks that way.
Well,
what about you, Jack? Do you have a fun Charlie story that you think the audience hasn't heard or would like to hear?
Oh man. You know, look, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's just private. So that's like, how do you steep through that? You know, I'll tell the story that in, you know, from last year though, that I think is just kind of a funny thing. So Charlie worked so hard on these campus tours that people don't realize that he worked himself sick last year. And there were, I don't know, 2-3 weeks where he had no voice. He completely lost his voice out there on the campus tours, the campaigns, between everything. He was traveling so much and just picking up whatever germs and bugs and all the rest. And obviously with his health regimen and that he, you know, he did what he could, but you know, sometimes it just kind of doesn't work that way. And I remember we had talked about, and he was like, "Hey Jack, you know, you're a Pennsylvania guy. We're doing this Penn State. I think it's going to be big. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, you know, we'll see if it works out with the schedule, etc." And then a couple days before the event, the day before the event, he sends me this text and says, "Jack, we need to talk." So we need to talk. I lost my voice. So then I call him, and he immediately hangs up, and he texts me back, and he said, "Jack, I can't talk. I lost my voice. I can only text." Yeah. And so he's like, I need you up here. And so I get up to Penn State, and the entire time we're there, and I'm with him, we're spending time, and he's like sending me text messages or just writing stuff on his phone.
And you're like right next to him.
Yeah, and he's like showing it, and I'm like saying it or tweeting it or whatever it is. And then as we're about to go, you know, we have this whole thing set up, and there's thousands of kids. I mean, 5,000 maybe, because I know we brought
it was insane.
I know we brought
sea of red hats.
We brought 30,000 hats, but then we ran out, and like only about half of the kids had hats. So that's why I know it was double.
You would not believe the number of hats that Turning Point bought and still managed to run out.
And
it was insane.
And then the campus ended up shutting down the speakers anyway.
That many boxes. I want to just
we just threw out hats.
It was so many like the logistics of getting that many hats is actually to each campus was actually a marvel in and of itself. And you're reminding me of go ahead. I don't know if you had something you wanted to add, Tyler.
No, I was just gonna say that the miracle of the organization of Turning Point, being able to do all those things, is what enabled so much of Charlie Kirk, right? Charlie wanted to be enabled all the time with every little crazy idea that he had. I would call him Charlie Kirk wild goose chases, like with stuff. It would just be like constant stuff, right? And it was just like trying to channel where those things would go. But the enabling of the staff to do the things that needed to be done, because Charlie was almost always right on these things. He was always right on.
He was annoyingly almost always right.
Almost always right.
And when you got one that was right, you
were like
you
yes,
would make a mental note and be like, because it was 99 to 1.
But where he wanted to go with everything was always right, and he knew he had the vision, and the people who helped execute that deserve a ton of credit. Every person, I look at the videos from the campus tours. Every one of our activists that is there, that's volunteering to help hold microphones, to, you know, standing in the gap there, especially in such scary times as where we're at today. They have been such incredible warriors, and that honors Charlie so much.
Yeah, we have this. Let's go ahead and play it. We have just enough time. This is Charlie eating with chopsticks in Japan with Blake, 479.
Oh gosh.
Is it like a big thing? Yeah, of course. Am I doing it okay?
Yeah, perfect.
This is Noto.
Why is it so gooey?
Soybean.
It's very good.
It's so gooey.
It's very gooey.
Why is it so gooey?
Because it's fermented, I think. Right.
That's great.
It's very good for you.
Blake, I remember you and I were on a chat when this was happening, or moments after it happened, and he was like, "There was literally 11 dishes in this thing. It was amazing. Oh, the Japanese food. I mean,
You can build a religion around this.
Yeah,
Build a religion around it.
People don't realize like how he would just get fixated on.
Yes, I would
on
just
dishes
love
like that.
how he would like interrogate me about things, because Charlie loved to learn things, loved to pick new things up, and yet he was also so busy all of the time. So he would send me on. He's like, Blake, you have to learn all about this thing so that you can just tell me about it when I need to learn about it later. So I'll go read a 300-page book about this so that I can just be ready when Charlie interrogates me. I remember once on a flight, it was like an hour, and he's just like, Blake, tell me about the Roman Empire. I'm like, the start or the end? He's like, whatever you want. And just started going off about that.
I also asked you about that. Blake is a very good resource if you want to learn about the Roman Empire.
And he was very, sometimes he would ask Mikey, he would be like, Mikey, just ask ChatGPT to make some trivia questions, and then let's just see if Blake can get them. And he was very proud that, he's like, okay, Blake, I'm going to lose to you on, history. I'm going to probably lose to you on geography. But he was very proud that he was competitive with me on, biblical stuff, because he was very... He loved to study the Bible, book by book. He was really into that. He was very, very proud of that. And he was right. He was better at Bible trivia than I was.
Actually, that's something I could share, and I'm sure we all could. That late night, whatever it is, people would say, "Well, what is Charlie like in off air?" He would be constantly going through books of the Bible, and then he would send you, some file or a podcast or something and be like, Jack, I just did this 5-hour course on the book of Deuteronomy. You need to go through all 5 hours and come back to me with it.
Yeah.
And not even for the show. Just
I have a story like this actually from recent. We were in Aspen doing an investor summit. And it was an amazing trip. And we had a Cambridge professor who was actually, we played that. The last live, it was a pre-record, but it was like the last radio live hour, before he started speaking at campus. And it was with Dr. James Orr. He's an amazing Cambridge professor. And he flew back from Aspen. And Charlie was like, what are you doing tomorrow? And James was like, well, I don't fly out until Monday. And it was a Sunday. So Charlie was like, well, do you want to have breakfast with us and we'll do our morning worship, and then I'll pick you up, and can you just like teach me all day? And James was like, well, you just want to do class? And he's like, yeah, like I just want to do class. And so they sat in a room and Charlie peppered him with questions. And you have to understand, Dr. James Orr not only sees the world similarly the way we do, but he has like a photographic memory of the classical Western canon, of all the texts that make up the Western. He can remember almost page and verse of all of these great books, and he can connect them, how they relate to now, and where we got this word, and how it evolved from this. And so Charlie was gathering this three-dimensional understanding of the Latin and the Greek, and how it made up European history, which gave birth to America, obviously the Western canon. But that was Charlie's idea of a Sunday well spent. And I remember being so jealous.
Yeah, that's a day off for Charlie.
That was a day off. I remember being so jealous because I had to go back home. I had to catch a flight Sunday morning to get back home. And I got to be with my family, and it was great. And that's where I should have been. But Charlie got to spend the day with his family and learning from one of the great minds in Christendom. And it was amazing. That was Charlie in a nutshell. It's weird things that I remember right now. Charlie walking around all the time with he'd wear shorts on planes with his tall socks.
Yeah.
So he always it was
The
just
tall
like
socks.
the tall socks.
No,
it improves circulation, Andrew.
He would always talk to me about this. He's like, it's a thing for tall people, Jack. It's compression socks. You wear them on planes. The pressure. He had it all it was all systemized and choice.
No joke.
Decision made.
A week ago, when I was actually flying out to Korea for a thing, I was like, okay, I've got to see if there's something to this. And I just put on socks and I pulled them all the way up. And I wore them that for about half the day. And then I thought, this is way too annoying. And I slid them back down.
Well, he would say it's because you're not tall enough.
But you probably did have really good circulation. He
Maybe.
was right most of the time. we're gonna welcome back radio, and keep remembering stories about Charlie. And there's just too much to tell about this great man. And it's fun to think about him. I have a story from Danny in just a second. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. Andrew Colvett, Jack Posobiec, Blake Neff, and Tyler Boyer. We're remembering our friend Charlie Kirk, our brother, who belongs to history now, and a pure legendary man. And I'm so honored to be sharing with you. And it's the way these things work. We just go wave after wave of emotion. And I wanted to read something that Danny on the team, Danny's a young guy. Charlie loved Danny so much. And Danny's quiet, doesn't always say a whole lot. But when he speaks, you better listen because he's been thinking about it for a long time. And Danny he's shared this with me. I hope it's okay. I think it is. He says, Charlie's story. Last year when I was living out here interning, I was living in the hood off of GCU campus. Charlie found out and goes, okay, you're going to either live at my apartment or at my in-laws. And he's like, I convinced him I would be fine, and I stayed where I was for a few months. He was one of the kindest people I've ever met. And I love that story because somehow this was true about Charlie, that he was balancing huge organizations, 1,000 relationships, donors, friends, the show, politicians, other organizations. He had all these plates spinning in his head all the time, and he would somehow find time to worry about my well-being. Or is your wife and kids, are they going to come? Do you need me to set them up with something? Do you want me? Can I get them here? Are you okay? Do you want me to put you at this hotel? Like his brain was just always moving and spinning, and he was always thinking about other people and their well-being. And how many stories I heard of that, Tyler? I mean, right? It's like you saw it in the organizational feats of Turning Point, how he would think about the speaker coming in and make sure they were all taken care of. And he had it built into the schedule that he had to go backstage to meet so-and-so at such a time because he wanted to just say thanks for coming. I mean, the intricacy of his mind and the details he was able to hold all at one time, truly amazing.
One of the things that I just keep seeing over and over is everyone telling the stories of how they got introduced to Charlie. And I've received, again, thousands of messages. I can't even respond back. I know Andrew feels the same. All of us probably feel the same. Jack is a savant at keeping up with people. I don't know how he does it, but I just can't even keep up. So I'm not even going to try. So I apologize. But everything I keep seeing over and over is, Tyler, I know you were close to Charlie. I didn't know him personally, but I want you to know how I was introduced to Charlie. And 9 times out of 10, you know what the answer is? One of my kids turned me on to Charlie. They showed me Charlie. And this is like, and this kind of goes hand in hand a little bit with what you're talking about. It's always shocking to me how, again, the Charlie Kirk phenomenon, how he led his life, how everything just ultimately ended up, in front of people. And for so many young people, again, and that's the mission of Turning Point. Turning Point, we're trying to get young people involved and engaged. But to not only see young people getting involved and engaged and loving Charlie and being interested in his content, whether it's TikToks to all the way through long form podcast, is that they were taking their parents, in most cases, old Gen Xers or baby boomers, and saying, you need to listen to this, or grandparents. And it's so interesting to me, and this is the legacy that has to carry on in such a profound way, is that young people can be the spur, they can be the dynamics, they can be the activating element. And Charlie was right. No one believed this, by the way, when we started. There was no one. And Charlie would get that face, when he would tell you, he'd get excited because he'd be like, I'm going to prove you wrong. And he'd get that voice in his...
He literally took on the hardest... the hardest job.
literally
at the
front
time,
lines.
it was unfathomable, and it was like you have chosen potentially the dumbest career mission imaginable.
Obama era college campuses, guys, you don't understand. That is the definition of the belly of the beast. And where we are today is where young people are carrying on their shoulders the Charlie Kirk voice to the older generation in a lot of cases. And I'm so that I never have really spent time thinking about that. I mean, I know it and we're really excited about it because I do that with my parents and grandparents, but it's been so rewarding to see. And if Charlie could sit here and read all these messages that I'm receiving that are saying that exact thing, he would be ecstatic. And we used to send those in the chat all the time, but I actually have some breaking news. I don't know if I should share it or not, but I'm going to. It looks like the Cubs are going to be recognizing Charlie today.
God bless him. I
So-
don't even want to tell that story. I can't tell that story.
But they should have
Glad
a.
they are.
They should have a.
It's very important to Charlie.
And
He loved the Cubs. His grandma was a lifelong Cubs fan, and she got to see the Cubs win the World Series, and then passed away. And Charlie was like, she lived to see like that, the greatest thing as a sports fan
Yes.
for her, and that meant a lot.
because no one thought it was ever going to happen.
Radio will be back, and streaming will keep going. Welcome back to our stream. Yeah, Charlie loved the Cubs. Loved the Bears too, but it was a little bit harder to be a Bears fan.
I actually was.
It was hard to be a Cubs fan a lot of the time.
Do you remember one of the last chats that we had? We were just, because on.
By the way, that picture right there that's up on screen, that was really recent.
A couple weeks ago, right?
I was with him.
Yeah.
And we went to that game. And there's it's a picture with the Cubs team, and then those, all these haters online tried to like shame that player. I forget his name, but he lives in Phoenix as well, and it's the third baseman. Hit a home run that day, I think just for Charlie, which was like amazing. And I actually have a couple pictures from that day. So go ahead, Jack. I
was just gonna say on Sundays, especially, people don't realize how big of a sports fan Charlie was, and on Sundays, the group chat would turn into basically whatever game he was watching.
Yeah, and just one of our last things was just busting his balls about the Bears
and the Bears
joking
game.
it away.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Because I was scrolling through.
Actually, that's a story people would like.
I was scrolling through, and
Charlie was so focused, and
reading
it was
about the Bears
always
game.
that we would have. America Fest is right before Christmas, and that's when the bowl games are ramping up.
Right.
And I think even maybe some of the playoff games were going on this last year. I can't remember what the schedule was, but he wanted to see what was going on.
He was mad. What game was it? He was mad that he wouldn't be able to watch a game in real time because.
But we would literally
there was something
have
that we had.
We have the big stage at AmFest, and then behind it is our kind of command center or green room.
Yeah.
And there's a table, and Charlie had a place he could sit. And he had a TV monitor set up to be showing one of these football games. And he's just sitting there like watching it during his literal 2 minutes of downtime before the next thing at AmFest. And he'd have his bowl with his chicken and lettuce that he was able to eat.
And his hot sauce.
He'd just be sitting there watching
food.
it really intensely. And I'd walk by. He's like, Blake, come here. Come on. Let's watch a game, Blake. I'm like, okay, Charlie.
Please put this B-roll up. Just don't play the sound on it because I haven't reviewed it for anything. I never shared this, but this was just from a couple weeks ago. That's me filming, and Charlie and Erica, and we went out. That was the first time Charlie got to walk out into Wrigley Field, onto the field right there. It was before the game, and it was so awesome. And the ivy
Field.
right there, and this is Charlie, of course, looking back. Give me the thumbs up. And man, we had just a heck of a time getting into the stadium because there was all these security barriers, but they'd arranged it with us beforehand to let Charlie get right up close, so that he could just kind of get out of the car and get on there onto the field. And this was his childhood favorite team, the Cubbies. He's got his Cubs hat. I kept wanting to get him one of the new era or like the actual field hats.
No, he would never
but
do it.
He liked
No, he'd never
his
do it.
his little like low profile one, and it was the one he wore. I think that's the same Cubs hat he wore at Student Action Summit when he was doing the Prove Me Wrong with the students there. And it was just so fun. It was so fun.
He wanted to walk
be
on
there
that
with
field
him.
his whole life.
Yeah. He wanted to be. He loved that field and that stadium.
We had, this is way back in the day, but we had actually taken. We used to have our headquarters in Chicago, so it was a ways out from Chicago, and I remember at the early time. This is like right after we had made some changes to really grow Turning Point USA. We did a team builder at the Cubs Stadium at Wrigley Field. And so Charlie and I had driven over to the Cubs, to Wrigley. Very difficult to park. You have to like basically just park in people's garages and things like that. But we took all of the staff there, and it was at the time I think we have like 20 people. And I remember we're just there, and we're sitting, and he just nonstop would be talking to everybody because we had staff from all over the country at the time, just different places, about how great the Cubs were, how much he loved them. And you knew from that moment how much that mattered to Charlie. And there are a few things that were like Chicago boy things. I mean, he loved Chicago. He told me, Tyler, Chicago's the greatest city on planet Earth. I'm never going to leave. And I was really nervous, when we...
But then you were instrumental in him falling in love with Phoenix.
He's
and
really
Arizona.
a Chicago boy at heart.
He is.
And the Wrigley, the Cubs, everything else was such a big part of the things that he loved.
All right, we're going to welcome back radio in just a second. Don't go anywhere. More with the crew, remembering Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show, radio stations across the country. Your guest host, Andrew Colvett, in for the one and only Charlie Kirk. Right here in his studio in Phoenix, Arizona. His seat is empty because we are honoring one of the greatest people any of us will ever meet, a legend, an icon, a martyr, a man who lifted up God above all. His faith in Jesus Christ was the most important thing to him. And then it was his family, Erica, his two beautiful kids. And then it was the country and Turning Point and everything that our founders built. And I'm just realizing, Jack and Tyler and Blake, that how much I've been changed by this person. It was funny, even while we were starting the show, and it didn't occur to me while I was doing it. And so I hope it didn't come off as some like fake like emulation. But I was sitting here going like, hey, send so-and-so in. Hey, send so-and-so in. And then like I remember that's what Charlie would do before the show.
Right.
It was always like, and it's like, I don't think I'm going to fully understand how much I've been affected and transformed and changed by Charlie. And I don't think I'll ever fully understand it.
Because you're not purposefully doing it like Charlie.
No,
it's
it
just
was like
Charlie's imprint.
We were so saturated with so much Charlie Kirk at all times that.
No, the way I put it was like people ask you, what about this question? What about this question? Would Charlie wanted this? Would Charlie wanted that? And it's like I can hear him in a way, like not like he's speaking to me, but it's just, if you know him, you kind of know what he would say.
Yeah.
You almost know, not unlike, certain things, but just little basic things. You just, well, that's what Charlie would say this. Well, Charlie would say this. Charlie would do this. And you just know. You just know that that's what he would have wanted. And it's weird because, talking to everybody throughout all of this, it's, even having heard that Erica said that she wanted the cameras on and wanted this up, I know that's exactly what Charlie would have wanted. That he would say, get on the stream, get the Rumble up.
It's almost like we are the large language model for Charlie Kirk because we've had so much input from this person.
Well, I mean, that's what a life is, right? when you know somebody.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They imprint on you.
People didn't give Charlie enough credit for how funny he was.
Charlie could be hilarious.
Charlie was funny, but it was his own very distinct brand of it. Because he was so distinctly Charlie and so rigidly Charlie Kirk, when he would kind of come, he would do that look when he go, but he would make, oh man, the plane rides were the best.
We would just get on topics.
Yes.
There were topics, and it would almost kind of turn into, the best way to describe Charlie Kirk's humor is probably Seinfeld.
He loves Seinfeld.
I've been only watching Seinfeld.
Charlie
I've needed it to fall asleep the last couple nights.
He loves
Seinfeld.
But it was like kind of these weird, funny, just like situational things with personalities involved, where it's like we would kind of talk about those things, and it would be like, well, what's this guy doing, and that's that, and like this is funny how this is connected, that's connected, and it was like kind of smart humor, but it's like that's the very in real life reality show type.
He was a good storyteller too. Yeah. And I almost feel bad that so many of the funniest ones you can't tell because it's private information. But when he could actually tell you something, him relating it secondhand was
I'll
so
give you,
funny.
I'll give you a good Seinfeld moment from Charlie Kirk's life, and I think about this all the time, and I don't know why, it just sticks with me. So Charlie and I were going back and forth to LA for like every week for like a year. There's a reason for it. It was crazy. It was stupid, but my life got like completely uprooted, and I was going to LA every week. So the horrible part about this is that we had to find LAX, and LAX is like a third world country. And it just is. And like you just and again, for people who have patience, you can probably get through LAX. Charlie Kirk cannot. And we were flying just back and forth. And so one day we cut it really close on the Uber that we were going back to LAX, and you get in the loop around LAX.
It's like a horseshoe.
And if it's stopped,
and there's like that Uber spot where you have to.
But you're so close to the terminal, but you're really not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
are you talking about just as you enter the airport?
No, just the horseshoe. So
I
as
just
you're going
bounce.
around, but if it's packed.
No, sometimes you can just bounce and then you can run faster than going through it.
People who don't know LAX, that's a total
That's
thing
what you
where
do.
you're stuck in your Uber outside the airport, and you can see the whole string of cars, and people are getting out running in.
But you can cut across the thing.
You can,
the
because it's a
garage.
horseshoe, and in the middle they have parking, and there's some pathways you can actually cut right in through. Yeah.
So, anyways, this guy,
I know LAX way too well.
this guy
I
was
know
dropping.
exactly what you mean. I've done.
This guy was dropping us off, and he wasn't communicating very well, and we're going through, and we're that basically scenario played out, and he's like, oh well, it's just right up here, it's right up there, and we just kept going and going and going. He's like, and I just remember the guy had messed up and then missed. He cut through the middle because there's this kind of road through the middle, and actually missed. He's like, oh, we're gonna have to go back and do this all over again. And we just flew open the doors. He's like, this is crazy. And like, he just like looked at the guy. He's like, this is actually crazy. And we like grabbed our stuff out of the car. And we're like having to walk across the airport. But I just rings in my ear the whole time because the guy was like, oh no, it's fine. I do this all the time. But the interaction between Charlie and this guy and us trying to get into the airport,
You
is
could
like
almost hear the
Oh yeah. It's like,
he
this is
loved this clip, by the way. He actually thought that Seinfeld had really profound, like deeper, like parallels. He thought it basically thought our entire modern world could be. There was going to be a Seinfeld episode that that mocked and parodied that what we're experiencing now, and so he loved this ribbon clip. So let's just go ahead and play the ribbon clip if we have it. I don't know what number. It doesn't have a number, but it's the ribbon clip.
You're checked in?
Yeah, thank you.
Here's your AIDS ribbon.
No thanks.
You don't want to wear an AIDS ribbon?
No.
But you have to wear an AIDS ribbon.
I have to?
Yes.
Yeah, see, that's why I don't want to.
But everyone wears the ribbon. You must wear the ribbon.
What you are? You're a ribbon bully.
Hey, you, come back here. Come back here and put this on.
Hey, where's your ribbon? Oh, I don't wear the ribbon.
You don't wear the ribbon?
Who do you think you are?
Put the ribbon on.
Hey, Cedric, Bob, this guy won't wear a ribbon.
Who? Who doesn't want to wear the ribbon?
And remember Charlie loved this because it was the parallel to the Black Square during George Floyd. And this coercive, you have to put it up, and if you don't, you're guilty. And that was just one instant of Charlie using Seinfeld as, and I'll never forget. He always brings Eric Metaxas on the show, and the first thing he does when Eric Metaxas comes on, and he'll make like a inside Seinfeld joke reference because Eric loves Seinfeld as well, and it's a beautiful thing.
Man, it's just watching that clip. Charlie loved that clip. Like Charlie loved saying that line.
You must wear the ribbon.
Like,
yeah. Oh,
I'm gonna miss joking around with him so much. That's.
How did you get him to wear this hat? This is hilarious. Tyler.
This is my greatest moment, by the way.
Tyler got him to wear this hat. Put this hat up. I can't believe I forgot you got him to wear that.
The one thing that I feel.
Oh yeah, this was
I feel
captain,
happiest
right?
about is
Precinct
I was
captain?
able to get Charlie to do crazy things for a long time. Again, for that, but we had these hats that said precinct lead, precinct sheriff on them.
Sheriff, yeah.
Because we're focused on recruiting for precincts, and this is how serious about it. And Charlie was very serious about chapters, and on our political side, we talked about precincts and getting everyone involved in the precinct level. And so I was like, Charlie, if you're serious about this, you got to wear this. And we, I think we wore them for a thought crime episode.
Yeah, everybody had to wear a
that's what
hat. I think Charlie probably took that off pretty quickly, but it was great that he was always a good sport like that.
No, he had it on. He had it on for quite a bit of the episode.
Charlie was always a good sport, actually. And what?
That's like the South Park. Like they didn't understand the South Park.
We found the clip 477. I think this is Rush Limbaugh talking. Oh, well, maybe not. We'll find the clip. It's 2.5 minutes of Rush talking about Charlie. I'm going to play it before this show is out because this show is the Charlie Kirk show, and Rush Limbaugh inspired Charlie to pursue this line of work. There's no question about it. That's not me speculating. I know for sure that's why.
Yep.
And so I'm going to play the Rush Limbaugh clip because they were both two men that we lost way, way too early. And I'm pretty sure that was the clip. I just saw it. And Rush saw, it's 477. Let's go ahead and play it.
They brought Charlie Kirk to the golf course to meet me about a month ago. He was in town to set up this turning point thing. And they brought him to the golf course to meet me. It was we were getting ready for a 8:45 a.m. start. And they brought him out while I was getting ready to go to the range to loosen up. And I spoke with him for about a half hour. And he told me how he grew up in a home where my program was on all the time. He was just effusively complimentary to me, which I, of course, understood and told him he's very wise. His family's very wise. He chuckled. He laughed. This is the kind of guy that you can see really becoming big in politics as he gets older. He just has the carriage, the personality, the charisma. You may think this sounds weird, but I remember when Bill Clinton became president, there were all of these stories about Bill Clinton at Oxford and Bill Clinton at Yale and Bill Clinton here and all these people who went to school with him. There was story after story after story where people were saying that they just knew Bill Clinton was going to be president someday. In college, he just had that kind of ambition, and he impressed people. And I'm telling you that people are saying the same things about Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Rush saw it, and Rush knew, and Rush didn't want people to know this. And then we asked Catherine after he passed, and she said it was okay to share that Rush was a 7-figure donor to Turning Point, and because he believed so much in Charlie and what he was building and the mission of Turning Point USA. And I want all of you to rest assured that are wondering what's next. Turning Point USA is not going anywhere. The mission that Charlie started, he always wanted it to be an institution that would outlive him. And we obviously wanted so much more time with him, but that was very clear. That was spoken of expressly. And I know all of us are ready to get to work on that. So radio, we're going to take a break. Stream, we're going to keep going. Be right back. All right, welcome back to Real America's Voice, the stream. We're honored by all our partners at Real America's Voice who believed in this show. And they've always been so supportive, by the way. They would send crews halfway around the world to have our back. Rob Sig, Parker Sig. We love you guys. You know what you mean to us. And I've talked with both of you in the moments after and since. And Jack, I know you work with them directly as well. And your show's coming up next. And we're going to keep going for...
Yeah, but I'm not just...
It'll be the Charlie Kirk
We're going to do
today.
this. We're just going to continue this.
Yeah. Anyways, we love them, and there's so many people that we should remember and thank.
There's thousands.
And we're not gonna. This probably is not the show to do that, just because it's impossible, and we're gonna forget too many people. But I just can't tell you how many people believed in Charlie and gave us a shot, and as a matter of fact, I'm gonna Daisy. Do I have my permission? Do I have your permission to read this? All right. So this is from Daisy Phelps. Daisy, she was originally Daisy Dibley when she joined us, and she got married, and now she's expecting her first child. And we love Daisy. She, we were joking, Tyler. You were like, my life was really hard, and then you came along, and then I was like, yeah, and then my life was really hard. You were like, I felt bad. I didn't want to tell you like how much easier my life got when I came around. And my life was really hard until Daisy Dibley came around, and now Daisy Phelps.
100%.
And then Blake, candidly, changed everything as well. I'm trying to make sure I got my show clock right here. So this is from Daisy, who would do Charlie's makeup and make sure his eyebrows, because he had these crazy eyebrows. Like he had like 60-year-old eyebrows at 27. Like they would just spark up like this, and I was like, Daisy, make sure his eyebrows are like his hair. He had this crazy mop that would just fight you, and Daisy got really good at kind of putting it all together. And Daisy also ran his Instagram account and so much more.
So much.
She did so much around here. She said, Charlie was a force, a believer, a patriot. He was my friend. I've had the privilege of speaking to him every day for the last 4 years, and I can't tell you that I've ever known someone with more integrity. He was exactly who he said he was, except better. There wasn't one thing that was fake or fabricated. He believed in what he said, and he lived out what he believed. He loved Jesus more than anyone. The truest thing about him was his belief in God. He was constantly researching new ways to defend the gospel and making sure we all knew them. It was that important to him. I can still hear him say, "Good morning, sports fans," coming into our studio every morning. I can still hear the worship music coming out of his office. I and everyone in the building was watching. I can still hear the Cubs games he'd turn on all the TVs to make sure everyone in the building was watching. I can still hear his kids running to hug him during breaks. He not only took a chance on me at 21 years old, but he pushed me, trusted me, and listened to me. Our show was everything to us. We lived and breathed the Charlie Kirk Show because we believed in it. We still do. He consistently raised the bar for everyone on our team by first raising it for himself every day. He saw greatness in you, and he brought it out by first being great himself. Just being around him, being in the background, made you want to fight harder. He was ecstatic when I told him I was pregnant. He made sure to ask about the baby every day. He wanted to see every ultrasound, and when we found out it was a girl, he yelled, "I told you!" My faith is completely different had I never met Charlie. My career, my adult life, my marriage, from watching the way he loved Erica, everything is different had I never met him. I'll never be the same, and I wouldn't want to be. If there was one thing to know about Charlie, it's that he loved Jesus. He is with God. He spent so much time learning about and teaching others about. Well, welcome back, radio. All right. It's the last segment of the live Charlie Kirk show on the Friday. after September 10th. And
9/10.
we just miss him. And I know we're all very honored to be here. We're going to keep going for another hour, Jack, and at least. And I'd like to have an opportunity for people in the audience to call in and tell their stories and how they remember Charlie. So I want to do that. So I don't know if we're planning on doing that today. I think we probably should just keep going. And so let's make sure the studio's ready to do that in a little bit. But go ahead, Tyler.
Andrew, there's a few people too, and again, it's really important. Again,
Yes, please.
This is not the show to everybody, because there's so many people who are influential, but there's a few people who are so dear to Charlie that I know of that just loved him to pieces. Mike Miller, who's been one of our longtime board members, is like a father figure to Charlie, and in fact, he was one of the individuals who has been there from really day one. When I met Charlie, he was a big game hunter, Africa, everything else. But he's a big jeweler in Illinois. He's from Barrington, Illinois, and he's so American. The guy, his address, I think, for his jewelry shop is 123 Main Street or something. So, and I've slept at his house. Like this
Mike's
is
great, man.
Incredible, man.
Love Charlie. Love Charlie so much.
Love Charlie so much. But this is, there are people that were so influential. Our board members, we have so many incredible board members, but Doug DeGroot, for example, has been a rock and a stalwart for Charlie. Tom Sadeka, who is going through some health things, and we're praying for him every single day. There's just so many people, and those early people, especially the Chicagoans that were there, who believed in Charlie. Bill Montgomery, who was one of the first kind of in Bill's enigmatic energy, was like a Tea Party guy that wanted to just show Charlie to everyone. And it was many people like that who gave the way, that enabling of Charlie Kirk to be introduced to the world. And if you're one of those people, and I didn't name you, I'm so sorry. We'll get there. David's there,
on the board.
Obviously Rob McCoy, so many others that have been so close. All of our board members, truly, Jeff Webb, others that you took Charlie around to expose him to the world, to others. We're just thinking about you so much today, because you did this, and you remember, and there were literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people who
Rebecca Dunn,
who did
Stacey
that.
Feinberg. These people were just champions of Charlie.
Ed Zeman, so many.
We shouldn't start because we're gonna miss people that really.
But I want to
Foster Freeze.
Foster, I guarantee you, Foster was waiting right there for him when he came out. We were sharing pictures of Foster. I remember sitting with Foster actually just right before he passed, in the Trump Hotel in D.C., and he scolded me. He was always scolding, for, giving that advice, that to Charlie, to me, to anyone that would listen. And he loved Charlie. Everyone has loved Charlie so much.
I just also want to say thanks just in these few final moments of the live show. And again, we're going to keep going, but we want to thank all the Phoenix PD that has been stalwart, and just from a security standpoint, cops blocking off roads, making sure our staff was safe, making sure these buildings were safe, making sure all the families felt safe going home and coming in. The buildings are closed for all intents and purposes, and that's great. That's fine for right now. The first responders at the scene, we want to thank them. Thank Charlie's personal security detail. You cannot imagine how tough that was for them. And I really love those guys, and they love Charlie. You got to believe me that if anybody loved Charlie, and had his back and was warriors by his side, it was those guys. Dan and Brian, you guys are the best.
Incredible.
Incredible.
We've known Dan from the very, very beginning. There is not a person that loves Charlie Kirk more
absolutely
than Dan.
Would have taken a bullet for Charlie. And the PD at the vigils, I know that there's just
All
we're
the
running
first
out of time.
responders.
We have 25 seconds left here
We love
before
Dan.
we lose radio.
We love you
but,
a lot, Dan.
Charlie loved being on radio, and so to the radio audience listening all across the country, just know that Charlie was inspired by Rush. Rush believed in Charlie, and Charlie took this medium to the next level, and he was rewarded with it in ratings and the performance of the show and all of your amazing belief in it. Thank you so much.
I talk to a lot of young people on campuses, at our events, on my radio show, podcast, and social media. Said differently, I visit college campuses so you don't have to. We're talking to so many voters that know it is time for change. They know that something is wrong. America's future is a series of choices. Our current state of slow motion national decline is a choice. Today is our 2-year-old's birthday. And I look at my daughter, and that is my why. For those that are parents, you know exactly what I mean.
There is no mountain that stands tall as your faithfulness. There is no river that runs wide as your goodness.
Man, Charlie, I remember when we were starting these out, and
it was that like that.
You know, it was like this. It was like your average
first 3 rows.
It was like your average political meeting where there was like 12 people in a room, and this is awesome.
This, in my personal opinion, was the most over-the-top Trump event that I've ever covered.
This is the #1 boots on the ground operation in the country. We're working directly in harmony with the Trump campaign. It's been vetted, it's been cleared, it's been blessed, as you could see there, and we're going to try to win this thing. No guarantees. It's what we do that matters.
Mr. President, I can tell you this room is 100% with you, and we have your back. God bless you. We really do. Thank you.
As you know, we are heading on campus here momentarily at the University of South Florida, throwing it down with the students. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are excited to continue this cultural movement that we have started at Turning Point USA. More high school chapters, more college chapters, and disagreement is not just welcome, it is invited. We want to have those tough conversations. That's what it's all about. You're not supposed to be involved in this. You're supposed to just kind of be on the vote for me every 4 years, give me more political power, and stay out of my business. And what has happened is we are seeing an explosion in citizen participation.
There is nothing else I'll ever need. All of my days, your mercy follows me.
on that extra door. Go that extra mile. Talk to that extra friend. Because throughout voting month and culminating on the 5th of November, I believe it will go down as a day that people remember, as a day that is written about in history books, as the final battle from the golden escalator on down, from defeating Hillary Clinton, from the nonsense of 2020, from Butler, Pennsylvania, November 5th, it all culminates where we restore the promise that the founders gave us. And they said, hey, if the people want it, the people get it. And we, the people, take back America. God bless Arizona, and thank you so much. Every day, the American people demand certain accomplishments and victories. Disagreement is what keeps a movement alive, keeps a movement fun. Here in this country, we are a country of flourishing. We're a country of risk-taking. We're a country of building. We will achieve American greatness, and we are just getting started.
All of my days, your mercy follow me.
Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show. This is Andrew Colvett, Jack Posobiec, Blake Neff, and Tyler Boyer remembering our friend, the one and only Charlie Kirk, who's on assignment from God, who belongs to history and will forever be in our hearts. And sorry, it's the way this thing works, man. Like, you see somebody you haven't seen yet, you haven't grieved with yet, and it gets the emotions flowing.
In the guys that I know who have lost people in the military, they say it's waves.
Yeah, it's waves.
It feels like waves. That's the best way to describe it.
And it's certain phrases, certain people, certain faces, certain memories. Like for me, I didn't expect a Seinfeld clip would just
Yeah, and everybody deals with it differently. And Charlie was not much of a crier unless, he literally helped elect the future president in the 45 and 47. Just hat tip to everything he just accomplished by sheer will. And I really, truly believe that without Charlie Kirk, we would not have President Trump and
Vice President Vance.
And Vice President Vance, we would definitely not have him. And thank you to President Vance and to Usha, Vice President Vance and Second Lady Usha, for just how wonderful they were with Erica yesterday.
Through and through.
They came to Salt Lake City and they picked up Erica and they picked up Charlie and all of us and took us on Air Force Two back to Phoenix. And it was a beautiful ceremony. Both getting on and getting off. And JD came back and talked with us, and he spent most of his time with Erica. And I mean, just class act. Hugged us all.
He is genuinely, I want to say this about the vice president. He's been genuinely interested in individuals. And this is the same thing with Charlie. This is the same thing with President Trump, to be very point blank, is very interested in individuals. And his touch, his warm touch on this of making sure that Charlie was honored the way that he deserved to be honored is never going to be forgotten. It's never going to be forgotten by this team. It's never going to be forgotten by the conservative movement, by obviously the entire Turning Point family. But that is such a testament to our vice president's character.
Yeah.
Because it's just as easy to say, we can't.
And you got to understand, JD's hurting too.
Yeah.
JD loved Charlie as a brother and as a friend. They talked almost, I really mean this, probably on text at least almost every day, if not every day. And JD was strong. He understood the moment was probably not his moment to grieve. He's grieving in private, and he was there and he was strong. And Usha was strong. And I love him for it. And there's a lot to love about JD, but that was a really amazing moment. And for our members, and by the way, thank you, Jack. This is your hour, and you're graciously letting us continue this show. And
I wouldn't have this hour if it wasn't for Charlie. So it doesn't mean anything. Just keep going.
And I appreciate that, brother. And I just a quick programming note: we're going to be sending our members at members.charliekirk.com. We're going to be sending you a phone number to call in and share your thoughts. So if you're one of the members of this show, you know who you are. You were the nearest and dearest to us out there, and you believed in this show, and you put your money where your mouth is, and we adore you for it. And Charlie believed in his members in such an amazing way. And so if you're a member of the Charlie Kirk Show, you are about to get an email with a phone number, and you can call in and you can share your thoughts and your remembrances of Charlie and what he meant to you. And we would love to hear from some of you. We'll try and fit in as many as make sense. And
how you got to know Charlie, how you discovered Charlie is incredible. Your interactions with Charlie and your interactions with the show, your interactions with Turning Point, please, coming to events, whatever. We want to hear all of it. And please send those thoughts if you don't call in to freedom@charliekirk.com.
I'll just say that, and we haven't really addressed it here. Obviously, you know what we do. We see all the information that's coming in about the suspect. We've even got stuff that hasn't been put out yet. And there'll be a time for that. And we know there'll be a time for that. There will be justice for Charlie Kirk, but that's not what we're doing right now. That's all I'm saying.
Can I share one more thing that I saw that was a frequent thing that was really touching? We have, of course, tons of people who've worked for us, tons of people who have worked with us, alongside us, that have helped build Turning Point into what it is today. But so many people, even people who, again, there are people who aren't always, that don't always agree with every single thing that comes out of Turning Point. I think this is really important. But their life was dramatically changed because of Turning Point. And they had met their spouses. The one common theme I saw was people reaching out to me saying, Tyler, I've always had this unbelievable respect for Charlie and for Turning Point because it changed my life for the better. I found my spouse. I have my kids because of Turning Point. I've
heard so many stories like that. That exact phrase.
And that consistent message that Charlie gave about the family and building your family and everything else reinforced all of that. And so many people are like almost coming back home because they're like, oh, I didn't always agree with Trump or I like Trump or whatever. Or I didn't like X, Y, and Z. And now they're on the team. And it was because Charlie, they stuck with it and listened. They're like, yeah, actually, you know what? This is the life I want to live. My family is important. My religion is important. Christ being the center of my life is important, what Charlie said. And so it's been really a beautiful, actually, honestly, a miraculous thing to watch as these people came back who I haven't heard from for almost 10 years maybe, that have said, hey, this is how much this has impacted and changed my life. And, and some of those people saying, I'm sorry I didn't say something before. And that was because of Charlie and what he built.
Blake?
I just, I keep thinking about, there's a poem that's a favorite of mine. It's from, it's a poem it was written during World War I by Lawrence Binion. It's titled For the Fallen, and it was about the men they lost in World War I. And I think about just a few lines from it, and about Charlie. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall not grow old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. And that's how Charlie will always be for us. All of us are going to grow old. All of us are going to die. But Charlie will forever be how he was on September 10th. Brave, strong, out there. Could be like that forever.
The end of that one is
well said. Thank
There's
you,
a
Blake.
couple lines where the next line of that is actually, they mingle not with their laughing comrades again. They sit no more at familiar tables of home. They have no lot in our labor of the daytime. They sleep beyond England's foam. It's a British poem. And the very last part, as the stars that shall be bright when we are dust, moving in marches upon the heavenly plain, as the stars that are starry in the time of our darkness, to the end, they remain.
So much of this in retrospect, and you don't have eyes to fully appreciate it in the moment, but where you realize that you were encountering greatness, and the moment you get the news, you realize that you were around somebody that was so incredible, and in kind of in a weird way, like in retrospect, it all kind of makes sense that we only get him for such a short time.
Yeah,
because he was too great for this world in so many ways, and he was a shooting star. He was a mythological creature. You know, you hear these pictures, you hear these images of descriptions of George Washington and how he's this huge man and
Larger
like
than life.
Especially for his time. Well, Charlie, we always joked he was a Nephilim. He is literally
He's
the
said it
only
so many
chair.
times.
The only chair that we could get. This is actually a really funny story. When we first started getting Charlie the chairs for his studio, it was like, nope, not that. It was like mattress shopping. It was like, nope, not that one, not that one.
We literally, this chair.
This is a shack chair.
Yeah, from it's
Shaquille O'Neal.
It's a fairly inexpensive chair.
Yeah,
just
but
from
it's
like
made
Staples.
for huge people like Shaquille O'Neal and
from Staples.
Yes, and from Staples. And he was
Locally.
like, oh, this is the one. And he's worn it out. It's got like a little, like, you know, the very cheap, you know, veneer on it or whatever. I don't even know what you call it. Like, it's
the
definitely
vinyl-
not. It's
it's
definitely
like-
not leather.
it's like the
leather.
vinyl.
It's vinyl, yeah.
And he wore it out, and he loved that big chair. And I have to say, like, when I've sat in it in the past, like you've sat in it, it's like you're like, oh, okay, I see what he was kind of, you know, it's a good chair.
It's like a hug.
But he was larger than life, and we all saw it, and we all, you know, he was younger than us. Everybody at this table, he was younger than us, and so we just, you know, you assume that you're gonna probably go before him, and but in retrospect, like, he was so larger than life, and he packed so much into every single day that it's pretty impossible to fully grasp just how much life he lived and how much he accomplished in 31 far too short years. But we do have our first caller. Do we want to? You guys ready for that? His name is Evan. Evan, the floor is yours.
Gentlemen, it's an honor to just be on and talk about Charlie for a sec. I'll keep this quick. Charlie was a friend. I consider him a dear friend, even though I never, ever met him. I've listened to him for a very, very long time. I run and operate a lawn and landscaping business and also host a podcast. And what Charlie really taught me was he was always continually learning. And even with my show that I host, you got to know things. You got to know about equipment and things like that. And Charlie was always learning. He's always listening to books and things like that. And his boldness to stand on the Word of God and Jesus is what I've tried to do with my business and in life and even my family too. Like I have a 2.5-year-old son and a kid on the way. And when I heard the news just a couple of days ago, I was on the mower. I stopped and I cried. It was just, it's devastating, but we know that God's going to work this together for good. And through his tragic death, guys, more people are going to know about Jesus. And that's the one thing that we have to remember through this. And it's just, I've never been, I consider him a friend, even though I just never knew him. And I want you guys to hold on to God's word, because that's what Charlie would want for us to do, is stand on God's word and hold on to it right now and not let the enemy just blind us from the mission that he had set. Guys, I appreciate all that you do. And just, Charlie, just thank you. And thank you, Lord, for just putting him on this earth for 31 years.
Well said, Evan. And I think I just want to echo what you're saying. I've gotten so many notes and I've seen so many comments on social media of people saying their kids are coming back to church because of Charlie and because of this, and what's happened, that people are coming back to the Lord. And I just, Jack, it is your hour, but I'm just going to say a quick prayer. I'm going to say a quick prayer for that. Heavenly Father, we ask that you would bless Charlie's legacy right now in this moment across the country and across the world as we mourn his passing. It's far too early and too soon. We ask, Holy Spirit, that you would enter the hearts of millions of people across this planet, across our nation, and that you would bring people to faith in you, Jesus, saving faith in you. He loved you, and I know that he is getting his reward in heaven right now, and that's what he wanted. In the beautiful eulogy that Blake helped write, that all he wanted was thriving young people that went back and found their faith in you, and thriving young families that made this country strong and great so that more could follow that same path. And I know, Lord God, that getting married and having a family and knowing you were his greatest accomplishments on top of everything else he did. And so, Jesus, we just bless this country and everybody that loved Charlie or that heard about him, that only heard about him even from his death, Lord, that you would make so many new believers, mint so many new members of your heavenly kingdom right now and in the days and weeks to come, Lord Jesus. We ask in your precious name. Amen.
Amen.
If you guys want, we could follow that up. Tyler, I know you just put the hat back on, but we could all say together, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, our Father,
who art in heaven,
hallowed be thy name.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us
this day our daily bread,
and forgive us our trespasses,
as we forgive those who trespass against us.
And
lead us not into temptation,
but deliver us from evil.
Amen.
Amen.
Charlie would have wanted people going back to church more than anything. More than anything. That more than politics or campaigns or whatever the next election was or whatever the next turning point was.
The core belief was
that was it.
He was a true believer in what Andrew Breitbart said. And we talked about this all the time. I actually remember we were visiting a donor and we stood in the spot where Andrew Breitbart passed, which is a kind of I think
it's in LA.
You've been there, right?
It's on Sunset.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's right outside a restaurant.
Well, it's in Brentwood at least. I don't know.
It's kind of an interesting place, but he had always had kind of this infatuation with the concept, and we actually leaned into it, talking about culture wars and all of that. But that culture is what dictates your politics. So, and culture is dependent upon your faith. There's nothing.
Faith's the bedrock. It's the
nothing,
absolute starting
There's nothing that impacts that. So, the politics that is really downstream from culture is really, and this is like kind of like I would say Andrew Breitbart next level, which was this Charlie Kirk, is that's why I believe Charlie was so adamant about faith being so important, is that he was a true believer in that statement, but that faith was what was dictating how our politics would end up, which is absolutely correct and true. And so there's nothing that could be more important right now.
What you could just tie it up and say, politics is downstream from culture. Culture is downstream from faith.
That's right. And Charlie led by example in embracing faith, embracing the Christ-like attributes that are necessary to impact culture in the positive way that needed to happen. And I think that's why you're seeing that turn of so many young people that were influenced by this, maybe starting with politics, but walking themselves backwards and going, oh my gosh, well, my politics is dictated by my faith. And that's a great legacy. That is the most important legacy, which Charlie himself said, which is that's all he cared about, was that people would know that.
Well, I was interesting. I saw a clip yesterday from Larry O'Connor, who worked for Breitbart, Andrew Breitbart, and he was talking about this memory at CPAC, and they were doing an Andrew Breitbart panel. And Larry put it together. He was he's like, well, all of us worked directly with Andrew. You never knew him. He's like, and Charlie, he's I can't wait to be on this panel. This is so amazing. And so he's like, I'll call you and tell you about it, like my thoughts. And he's like, okay, we probably should talk because the rest of us knew Andrew. And Charlie said that I was so inspired by Andrew Breitbart that I created Turning Point.
Yeah.
And Larry realized that he started Turning Point in 2012.
Yeah.
The year that it happened.
That happened.
And he realized that Charlie in many ways is the blossom of the seed planted by the death of Andrew Breitbart. And so when you think about how that can keep going forward, and I know Charlie would want that, that we would have many such stories like that, not just Turning Point or whatever.
And it's really an interesting point to make for those that study modern conservatism. There aren't very many people. I mean, if you had to pick the top three, it would probably be, and again, we're setting Charlie aside, but Andrew Breitbart, Donald Trump, and the third being Rush Limbaugh.
Rush.
And when you look at that and you start to go, wait, what's the connection between all three of those men? It's really, you look at that and you go, Charlie Kirk. And Charlie was enigma. He had a personality that was unlike anything else, but he was the continuation. He picked the baton up for all three of those men in different ways, and carried the entire conservative movement on his back and created something. And again, that the culmination of that, what is the representation of Charlie? And people are like, well, what can we do to keep Charlie? You have it. It's Turning Point USA. It's Turning Point. The entire ecosystem. He did it.
Yeah, he was able to do all the things.
All of the things.
All the things.
I promised we would mention this, and before we go to the next caller, I saw some people saying that they thought I was trying to brush it off. I wanted to give the vigils a moment because because I knew we were up on a clock before. It's unbelievable, and they're worldwide. South Africa, I've seen
Australia,
New
Zealand,
huge one in Australia. I got a video from Sydney this morning. Someone sent me. Sweden, all across Europe.
I just got one from Hungarians.
I'm sure,
yeah.
and then all across the country, and there's little ones popping up. Like just, hey, this is the one in our town. If you want to come, just come on. Someone sent me Westchester, PA, and I hear there's going to be they're trying to put together one, not like an official one, but like at the White House at Lafayette Square Park. There's just some local people trying to get a permit, and it's that spirit of individuals becoming activated and coming together around one core concept, principle, value. That's what Charlie Kirk stood for. That's what he was all about. He lived his entire life trying to inspire a turning point in this country, and he's done it.
He's done it. I take so much solace in a couple of things. He got to see young men and the youth vote win a president.
Yes.
He got to see it, and he got to do it, and he got to see the decline in church start going back up. He got to see that.
It bounced.
And he got to see just before that NBC poll that said that young men want to get married and have babies as their top priorities.
Yep.
And I can't tell you how much that means to me that he got to see the fruit of his work, because so many people don't get to see what they've accomplished, and he actually got to see it. And all of you that came out to the campus events, all of you that came out to our Turning Point events, all of you that subscribed to the show, that gave him like one of the biggest shows and reaches and platforms in the entire country, day in and day out. And we had millions of people listening to Charlie every day. Every day. We tried our best to estimate it in the way of modern analytics with fast channels versus radio versus podcasts. And then you take clips, it was basically impossible to measure. But even just in the fall, going up to the election, it was 15 billion views of Charlie Kirk content just ahead of the election. And every day there was between 2 and 3 million people that tuned into this show, to the Charlie Kirk show, or listened to the podcast, or and that's just the live show. That's not even counting clips. So that was podcast, radio, and it was truly a feat for anybody. But the fact that he was able, like we said, Tyler, to be like a Rush Limbaugh, to be like an Andrew Breitbart, and to be
He brought all that together.
He brought
Trump,
all that together in one.
all of it.
Human that took and by the way, and I want to give a shout out to all of his assistant staff and his chief of staff, Mikey, who made his day to day possible. They were really amazing. We're gonna get to another caller, and this one is Anthony. Anthony, the floor is yours, my friend. Tell us about Charlie and what he
Thanks,
meant to you.
Andrew. Well, first, my condolences to you and everybody. So Charlie and I've been listening to the show since it probably started, and I've been a member for a while and everything. But the one time that it stood out to me, and this might have been the funniest disagreement, was probably at the end of July, early August. It was the weekend before he had to go on Fox and Friends, and he put out the question to everybody in the first hour: does baseball need a salary cap? And he knows that I work in the industry, and it's on the college side of athletics. And we talked about the political question I sent in to him, and then he goes, "All right, Anthony, give me I need to know. You're the professional." I go, "I already emailed you my answer in the first hour." He goes, "I know. I'm not letting you go until you tell me." And I said, "Well, I believe I'm on the fence." And he literally starts laughing and goes, "You can't be on the fence about this. You have to be on my side." And I'm like, and I'm like literally sitting there, and I'm like, he's yelling at me. He's yelling at me because the guy in the industry won't side with him. And I'll be honest, I always wanted a salary cap until I did more research. And then he's like, "Well, you have to," and Blake, you can relate to this, "you got to find me that research and send it." So I said, "All right, I will look for it." I sent it to him next Saturday morning when he's live on air on Fox. The following week, he goes, "I got your emails. I haven't read them yet." But he goes, but it was the funniest to see his facial expression just light up, because he's like,
Anthony, I just want you're reminding me of a very unique detail of Charlie Kirk that unless you emailed in the show, you didn't know. He would argue with the emails.
Yes.
And he would get into these. He would get into these
during the show.
During the show, he's sitting there hosting the show, going, "Welcome back to the Charlie Kirk Show." And press send, and then he'd be like, they'd keep the show going. But he was arguing with people as we went.
He could be talking, like giving a monologue and writing a separate argument to an email.
Well, we would all be debating too. So your emails that you would make, he would drop into the chat, and it would be like rolling a grenade into the chat.
Yeah. Or sometimes he'd be like, "What do we think?" And he'd be like, "Well, this person just agrees with me."
And we would take sides with all of you. So like we would have all of that, and truly, and this is the one grassroots part, because one of our culture point that we have at Turning Point is grassroots humility. And this is the really interesting part. And again, Andrew deserves a ton of credit for this, because they framed the entire show, the Charlie Kirk Show, here around your feedback, your commentary, your conversations. Every individual in America that talked to Charlie or would email in or would DM had a voice. And again, that's not most people that do this. And it helped with the work, because it helped frame Charlie's opinions about things. It helped frame, from a grassroots perspective, how we think about things at Turning Point. And we think about issues that would be covered on Charlie's show every single day that everybody listened to. Everybody at the White House would listen to. And Twitter would change, because the three, like between Jack and Charlie alone, them dropping something changes the whole direction on Twitter. Anyways.
And then Benny. Yeah,
Benny
Johnson.
Yep.
Let's throw this up. I just want to. I don't know all the details about this, but there is a prayer vigil planned in Washington, D.C. on Sunday, September 14th. So this Sunday at 6 p.m. Location to be announced soon.
I think I may have just accidentally said it.
Oh, whoops. Well, if you did, that's
some
fine.
I wasn't given the full confirmation on that.
Sunday,
but I know it was
who
in the
knows?
works.
But it'll be at 6 p.m. in Washington, D.C., and I think it's a beautiful way to honor Charlie. Charlie, candidly, didn't love Washington, D.C., didn't love going to Washington, D.C. I mean, he was
The
pretty
Imperial
open about
Capital.
that. The Imperial Capital.
Imperial Capital.
But he would stomach it because he loved his country, and he would go there, and so I mean, I think it's a fitting tribute.
Can I just say, if you are at Washington, D.C., or if you're in any other blue area and you're going to one of these vigils and protesters come up or something like that, just, I'm not going to say, don't get into it, but just, we're not there for that. We're really not there for that.
Charlie his message was peace. I mean, Charlie, he was a master swordsman, but his sword was the word, the logos, and debating. And he didn't believe in peace per se. He believed in verbal combat, and he believed in intellectual and ideological combat, and he believed that we were in a war of ideas, and a spiritual battle. And so I'm not here to give you some rosy, prescription about the state of the world. We're in a battle, not against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. And
I think we
obviously,
got a pretty close understanding of the state of the world a couple of days ago.
Yeah, but like Charlie ultimately believed in the promise of America and the fact that our institutions will hold. I guess Speaker Johnson will be at that one, along with Anna Paulina Luna. More details coming about that.
Which is very fitting because Anna is, by her own admission, is the Turning Point Congresswoman. She, to tell this fun story again, I know some people have heard it, but Anna was thinking about going to med school, and she had engaged with us online. I found her. We saw that she was saying some smart things on Instagram, and we actually reached out to her, invited her to Young Women's Leadership Summit, and she came, and she was like, "Hey, I'm applying to med school," and she was again an Air Force veteran and everything else, and that one experience of her being there at Young Women's Leadership Summit, which, by the way, that was Young Women's Leadership Summit was the brainchild of Charlie. We started that many, many years ago. He knew that was important, wanted to do that, but it culminated. It started at a tiny little thing in Illinois, and then we moved to the airport. We were at the airport, kind of a 3-star hotel at
the Hyatt in DFW.
At DFW, it was tiny. It was like inside. It's like literally inside the airport, so you don't even.
I remember
you don't even leave the airport when you show up. And it grew and grew and grew. But Anna showed up there, and we convinced her to not go to medical school, to quit, basically move to Arizona and start touring and learning how the ropes of how to debate on campus. And to do that was like the Charlie Kirk model.
And by the way, APL, she
did it.
So fierce in Charlie's defense since all this. I've been texting with her.
She has been the person.
She's so great.
Yes.
And I just love it.
Anyway,
she's part of the legacy too.
She left here, wanting to run for Congress, wanting to change the country. She's doing just that, and she's a tremendous friend and ally, and she's been incredible for the last few days here.
Yeah. We're gonna take another caller. Caleb, you are on. Caleb and Michelle, how are you, my friends?
My friend Andrew. Well, you know how we are, but it's such a privilege and an honor that Charlie called me his friend, and even though we were occasional acquaintances, and I loved how every time we would meet, he would treat us like family, and I have what I wanted to talk about is maybe just a couple stories about how he elevated those around him. And I know it's been said before that was the kind of person he was. He wanted everyone to be their best. And, but we and Michelle's already emailed you guys the story of how we first met in 2020, and he introduced us to people. I think you were there, Andrew. We come back and he says, "These are my 2020 friends," because we met him in 2020 just after the election at the headquarters, and it was what was so cool is that every time afterwards we would go to an event that Charlie was speaking at, and he did this like at least twice to me. He's like, "Oh, hey, Caleb, I'm out in the crowd. I'm just sitting out in the crowd." He says, "Oh, there's Caleb and Michelle. I should tell you the story about how we met in Arizona." And he remembered you when he saw you again and welcomed you in. And Michelle and I we're so happy that 3 weeks ago he was in Myrtle Beach and we're in North Carolina now, and like we could go to that, and and so we went to see him. And
I saw you there.
Charlie,
I saw you there, Caleb.
Yep, saw you there. And it was so cool because Charlie invited us backstage, or Mikey did, and he brought us into the green room, and there's Alex McFarland, and Charlie introduces us, Caleb, Michelle, my super fans. These guys are Charlie Kirk show super fans. And he said, Charlie said, Caleb just sends me the best feedback. I love reading his emails. He always talked about how he loved Michelle's emails. She's always so encouraging to him. And then he says, "So Caleb, what's on your mind?" He just puts me on the spot, I'm not the guest speaker or anything. He says, "Charlie, what's on your mind?" And I throw out a couple ideas, and he says, "I'll let you choose. Here's a couple ideas. What do you want to talk about?" And he's like, "Oh, that's a great topic. Hey, Alex, you and Caleb, you guys should debate this topic." And then he just puts us on the spot, and he facilitated, he kind of moderated. He jumps in on my side, gives a good point here from the Bible, because it was a biblical discussion. And
by the way, Caleb, I want to give you credit because Charlie threw threw it to you to make a point. Remember backstage with McFarland, and you crushed it, man.
Yeah.
You crushed it. And I remember I walked away with Charlie and I said, "Caleb did well." And he goes, "Oh yeah, he's been paying attention." I want to throw up another image here. This is from some friends here, a memorial rally, tribute ride in Lynchfield Park here in Arizona. Arrive at 5 p.m., ride at 5:30, and speakers to be announced, candlelight vigil at 7:30. This is what's happening. People want a way to help, and I think it's incredible that so much of this is happening so organically. Nobody's planning this. Nobody's there's no organization, by the way, doing the DC one. It's just people in DC that love Charlie.
Charlie would have loved this.
And it's just people are grabbing the bull by the horns, and they're doing this because they loved him.
But Charlie would also say, "Okay, but don't stop there."
Of course.
He would say, "Don't stop there. Do not stop there. Thank you, but do not stop there."
Speaking of which, this is I had my team coming to me going how can I help? Can I make a montage? Can I make a tribute video? And I'm like, sure. I haven't seen this one either. Let's go ahead and play. This is from Noah on our team, and I haven't seen it. So 419. Thank you, Noah.
Why your faith is the most important thing.
You are commanded to go do something productive with your life. You are not commanded to go sit idly by and just receive. You are commanded to go give and to produce and to risk, to then go sow into other people. That is a biblical idea that has made the world a profoundly better place.
We must put God first in everything that we do. We are nothing here but just for a short instant, short little glimpse. We act not out of outcome, but we act out of obedience.
Everybody, this was not earned. You guys were a vessel. We were a vessel. Yeah. Psalm 107:1. Oh, give thanks to the Lord, for he is good, for his steadfast love endures forever.
I have to say this without getting emotional, but I'm very proud of my husband. You are so intentional with your faith, and you are so intentional with just how you are as a father and a husband.
Becoming a father has made me, first of all, understand that what I'm fighting for is beyond even yourself.
We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and darkness and spirits.
Because at its core, what we are fighting is a spiritual battle. And if you're here and you don't believe in God,
okay, fine, I'll pray for you. And I hope you find Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, because it will change your life.
How do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered for courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. The most important thing is my faith in my life.
Wow, good job, Noah.
Great job, Noah.
That was great.
Noah's pretty new to the team, and you captured it, brother. We got a note here from a John. He said, Charlie sat down with me after my dad died. He says, hey, Thought Crime crew. I look back fondly on the time I spent with Charlie, from my time as a student at GCU to working for NFP and then Chase the Vote. Charlie inspired me and was my hero. I specifically remember when Charlie came to GCU in 2022, he was informed that my dad had died. He personally spent time with me backstage before his event, and that has stuck with me forever. Charlie was an incredible man and made me the man I am today. Sending love and prayers, John.
Now he's working for President Trump in D.C.
Wow. And we have Sarah. Sarah, you're on with the crew. What's on your mind?
Hi. I am holding back tears. It's been a rough couple of days, as I'm sure you all know. I just wanted to say to all the people listening and all of you folks who are continuing this movement, thank you, especially to Charlie. I really believe he has been the turning point of our nation for, I guess, what those words are worth. And I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to his words. I'm grateful to how he held himself and was able to hold conversations with people. And I do think that in this tragedy, I'm hoping that it really is the turning point of our nation and that we can move forward as a nation in a way that Charlie would be super proud of.
Beautiful, Sarah. Well said. Thank you. And I think we're all praying that that the reach and the impact that Charlie has, I don't think any of us have any idea just how big it is. And that's what I'm realizing. I feel like, Tyler, you and me specifically, and kind of what we had to do the last couple days, I think we were a little insulated from it, and I feel like I'm just starting to see it.
Yeah.
Of what I've been kind of ignoring, and the calls I haven't been taking, and the texts I haven't been responding to. Yeah. But that's probably just the tip of the iceberg of how huge his impact is.
I don't think we have any idea. I woke up this morning realizing that.
Yeah.
Just because of the people, like the layers of people talking to people who talk to people who talk to people who are kind of coming back. And people have been so good to all of our team. People were worried about the safety of our team. And so, Phoenix PD and Mesa PD have been incredible. I know it's Scottsdale PD and everyone else. There's been so many people impacted by this.
By the way,
aren't even saying anything.
And when we landed in Phoenix yesterday, there was a huge crowd,
hundreds,
gathered outside of the airport. And as we drove away in the procession, there was people lining the streets, like American flags and MAGA hats. Probably half of them that Charlie threw to them. And when we got to our final destination, again, there was a huge crowd gathered, waiting for us and for him. And it was really, really amazing. And it was just kind of a little insight. And Blake, I joke with you because we couldn't take him anywhere. In life, we couldn't take him anywhere.
Yeah.
He would get absolutely mobbed. Can I get a selfie? Can I get a selfie? I mean, it didn't matter if you were in Seoul.
It was
or
unbelievable. Just in Seoul, in Japan, just the number of people. Or even we realized it when we went to Cambridge and Oxford last spring. The number of people who would recognize him all over the place.
Yeah, and I took him to a very, very private place in California, and I was like, "Don't worry, we'll be left alone," because we had business to attend. We had a pretty important discussion we were having. We needed to work out some details and some planning, and I was like, "Don't worry, we'll be fine." And it was No, it was not. It was like people would come. I mean, candidly, they were a bit rude. But I looked at him and because we're obviously having a private discussion, and they were like, "Can I? Oh my gosh, can we get a selfie?" And as he was driving away after, I mean, there was like very private place. There was still about, I would guesstimate about 30 people in the course of about 40 minutes. Like, and we were trying to hide. And then as he's driving away, these two kids were like rode their bikes after him. And they were 14, 15 years old. And they're like, "Is that Charlie Kirk?" I was like, "Can we get a selfie before he leaves?" And I was like, "Charlie," and Mikey was in the car with him as they were driving away. And of course he's like, I got him to stop. And I asked him in the middle of it, and I said, "Are you okay with this?" He's like, "Honestly, it's just, I've accepted it. This is life. And I want, like, I know that I can make somebody's day by doing it. It's fine."
Always say yes to every photo.
The one funny...
Yes, he would always say that. Said, always say yes to every photo, even if he was in the biggest hurry.
The one funny moment that I have that was the opposite of that with Charlie, and I don't know why this memory sticks with me, but it was during that whole time when he lost his voice, and we were trying to get his voice back. So it was like me, Charlie, and Mikey, and we were just... because the way the travel route, we were just driving through like Central Florida where it gets kind of rural. And we had this idea to get him like a humidifier with like medicated humidifier, but we couldn't figure out where to get one. And Charlie wanted a specific one. And then we were just driving down the street and Charlie goes, "Well, there's Walgreens. Let's just go to the Walgreens." And you know how he is when he wants something and he wants something specific. So we're like, "Are you coming in?" And we just went to Walgreens and we're just like walking around. And it was just so surreal because like nobody came up for like the one time among all these times where it was just like the most normal, simple, and of course we couldn't find the one he wanted, and then we had to get a very Seinfeld, kind of thing. And then we just go check out, and it's like in the middle of all this craziness, it's just a random trip to Walgreens trying to find something for my buddy because his throat hurts.
It's like, funny actually now thinking about that. You inspired this. I remember when he was in Seoul just like a week ago, 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, and he went out and explored the city. He got up early and explored the city, and I remember going, "Alone? Are you like?" And he was like, "Yes, alone, LOL. Like, it's safe here. Like, it's clean." Like, that actually meant a lot to him, and I'm so glad now that he got to do this thing that he hadn't been able to do in so long and just go explore a city by himself.
He hadn't been by himself for so long.
He hadn't. And he loved it. He kept sending us pictures in our chat and like videos. And you were there, right? I mean, you weren't. I mean, you did do some exploring with him.
He did it on his own, and then later we were in this old town neighborhood, and he's like, "All right, Blake, just tell me about Korea." And I'm just babbling. This is the palace where they do the Confucian examinations. And he loved it. And of course, it was also 1 trillion degrees out, so we were all in, nice clothes because we had to go to the thing later, and it was swamp, and I was dying, but it was so much fun.
Man.
But that's such a good point, though, Andrew. I mean, the thing that I think most people don't realize, especially in these last years that Charlie was with us, was that he was never alone. I mean, the weight and pressure of having to be that celebrity, like that's a lot. It's a lot to do, and that has an impact on most people. And the one thing I think that was really astonishing about Charlie is he didn't change as a person at all.
He didn't. By the way, he wasn't like the party animal either. Like, so a lot of people get in this role, and I don't know. You see him at clubs, you see them drinking, you see them partying or like enjoying all this stuff. Charlie would go home at like the first instant that was socially acceptable for the programming, like at America Fest. Maybe the program didn't get over until 7:30. He would go straight home back to the hotel as soon as he could after meeting with donors or supporters.
Yep.
And he would do a circuit of like 4 stops, 5 stops, meet with donors, and then he'd go straight back to be with Erica. Like immediately.
And his personality never changed. His demeanor never changed. I mean, his busyness level was never different. He was always busy in different ways throughout his career, throughout the time that as he grew. But the thing that was always really difficult, that I was always really worried about him, was that never having that reprieve from the public eye or being able to go out and just do normal things. And the one thing I really appreciate about Erica and you guys, actually specifically that are here with Andrew and Blake, because you guys spent a lot when he did have alone time, it was with you, and so it was like that was as alone as he got, or with Mikey, and he got to do some normal things in that way, right? Which was like going to the Cubs game.
He was always just the kid from Chicago
and wanting to be,
he always was,
and wanting to eat at the restaurants. Like I'll always remember, again, just after we had a long day of doing something extraordinarily exhausting, and I felt like it was like 10 p.m. And you guys know this, like Charlie loved to just go sit down and break bread and eat.
By the way, the way he would order was hilarious. He'd sit down, we'd be at a restaurant, and be like, 4 or 5 of us gathered around. He would take the menu, and go, get us some of this, some of this, some of this, some of this, some of this. Get these out for shareable plates. You guys are gonna love this. You're gonna love this. Trust me. And then he would go, and can I get some hot sauce and olive oil and some salt and pepper, please? Thank you. Yeah. It was like he would order like a crazy person, like 15 items, and then so you're just like, I guess I'll just eat what Charlie's having, and the table would be filled, and he'd be like, "Get some more of this. You're gonna love that. Eat some more of that."
And then everybody's around eating, talking, again, kind of decompressing from whatever the crazy was that you're going through, whether it was the travel or the event or the donor meeting or whoever or whatever you're doing, the show, the speech, the rally, the activist event. That was the consistent thing, is that if you got that opportunity to sit down and then you talk, and then it wasn't just talking about nonsense. It was usually talking about big ideas and having the conversation, similar to like what we have on Thought Crime. So like if you as an individual out in the world, and I don't know if you agree with
Thought
this.
Crime was probably the closest videoed version of what it was like to kind of like hang out with Charlie.
Yeah,
and
that was sort of like
more distracted.
that was sort of like our We used to joke about it because it was like our group chat on camera.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what it was like to sit down with Charlie, like in a scenario where it's like you're sitting there talking about, there's these things going on, these topics, and like everybody's going around the horn, just like, talking about it, debating it. And, he would say, well, isn't that interesting? Or like, you get into it and ideas would spark, and he'd do that smile and he would think about it.
My favorite, I was just sharing with Daisy that my favorite segments in Thought Crime were
so uncomfortable.
Yes, that was the point. was when we would explain memes to him.
Yeah, just like Charlie's like entire knowledge of pop culture froze when he was 17.
Yeah, like what Charlie, you don't know what a bonus hole is, Charlie?
Don't use that one.
Or just whatever the
How about
Riz.
Riz?
What is Riz? No, I'm not going to get into it. I just mean like whatever the thing was that was going around, he'd be like, is that good? Yes. No. Okay.
Yeah, is this good? He just wanted the binary. Like, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Remember the JD Vance memes?
Yes.
When the JD Vance memes came out, you're like, are they making fun of JD? Kind of.
Sort of.
But in a good way.
Sort of. In a good way. Is it good? Yes.
Charlie didn't necessarily speak meme fluently or natively, but he understood the power of them. I have a story I just want to share.
No, he loved them. He
loved them. I have a story I want to share from Emma on our team. She said the night after the election, Charlie wrapped the stream and came out to the bullpen and sat and ate his dinner with the team and told us stories about the behind-the-scenes work he was doing that nobody knew about for like 2 hours. It was one of my favorite CK memories of all time. He told us how much we can trust JD as vice president and the work he did to get him to that spot. It's really beautiful.
Charlie had the thing that makes me the saddest about Charlie's passing and that he was ripped away from us so abrasively is that man had probably a library of books to write about the things that he knew that have gone to rest with him, things that he saw that are really interesting for politics. Because again, piggybacking on that, you sat down with Charlie, he could tell you about things that nobody knows. I mean, there's things that we know, there's memories that I have that I can tell you, and I when the time's right, at some point, I hope that I can share some of these stories that they come out. Andrew has a gazillion of them. Blake, since you've been traveling, Jack knows these things because he lives this lifestyle every day. But
that's what I mean.
There
about
are things
stuff
that I'm sad that we'll never hear.
I don't want, like we can't. You know what I mean? I just can't.
I can't process.
Because people were like sharing text messages, and I was going back and look at some of the ones that I have, and I was like, can't share that, can't share that, can't share that.
Or where
can't
do you
share
even
that.
begin?
No, I know the Riz one is funny. Like we should probably put that up.
That's
Like,
why I brought
that's
up the memes,
that's-
'cause, like,
Daisy,
that's
put the
stuff I
Riz
can
one.
talk about,
Put the
but-
Riz one up. This is funny. This is like perfect Charlie. And so I always like to like hound Charlie a little bit, and I it looks like I was making fun of the cough drop thing because the cough. And by the way, that was the one thing that
His Zyn
South
cough
Park-
drops, right?
The South Park, yeah, people thought it was Zyn when he was on campus and he would pop the cough drops in. So this, welcome to the inside chat, guys. This is about as close up as you can get, and I would be like, actually, Charlie, I love the cough. It makes you look really cool. Like when you're like popping, you got this kind of like nonchalant look when you're just popping the cough drop. And Daisy says, everyone thinks his cough drops are Zyns. And I was like, nicotine cough drops. And Charlie, ha, 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 ha. And I go, Charlie's Riz secret. For the record, it's a great Riz crutch. Makes you look nonchalant. Plus the athleisure wear versus the suit. Charlie goes, what is Riz? And I go, like swagger. And Blake has to go, charisma.
No, but no question mark, right? What is Riz?
What is Riz? What is Riz, period?
Is it good?
Well, it's probably because he was hosting a show or something. Yeah.
But that was always his follow-up, though. Is it good?
Is it good?
Is this good?
We have one more caller I want to get to, and that is Julie. Julie, hopefully you're still with us. The floor is yours.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, I'm Julie. This is me letting Charlie inspire me to be more joyful, bold, and brave. I'm calling instead of emailing. Calling is the scariest thing in the world. So I learned about Charlie after he followed Steve Bannon on Rav. I listen to his podcast every morning on my walks. I love thought crimes and the glimpse it gives you into the secret world of men. I was glued to the Rumble late night election coverage. I was blessed to see Charlie interact with college students at Normal, Illinois when he was here this spring. I was so afraid to go because I thought there's no mute button because I'm kind of like Bannon, like on the cold open, stop, I can't take anymore. But I didn't need it because Charlie was just fantastic. And then lastly, I'm most thankful for Charlie for introducing me to Jack Hibbs and the Real Life Network and reinvigorating my faith. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well said, Julie. Thank you for calling in.
Thank you for sharing that, Julie.
And sharing that. And you, your bravery was rewarded. And by the way, I want to say this. Like, people describe Charlie as fearless. He wasn't fearless. He was courageous. He looked fear right in the eye, and he overcame it again and again and again. And I can tell you how many moments I spent with Charlie in this behind the scenes and the quiet before he walked out on stage or before he had to tackle something or a setback, bad news, and Charlie just looked at the fear right in the eye, and he knew there was no way but through, and he just was so courageous, and he just did it, and he always won.
He always won.
He won, and he kept like coming back, and he was stronger and fiercer, and frankly, I think I said this to Erica yesterday. I said, probably for the last 2 years, I knew Charlie actually was fearless. Because he'd overcome so much, and that's great.
He was an absolutely fearless individual. I mean, since the day I met him, and I shared a story yesterday, I won't repeat it, but the times where I had the greatest fear of people, and there's lots of people that fear in politics, and I had this privilege of getting to know what President Trump would label as bad hombres, and Charlie was always the person that said, stand in the pocket, fight these people, fight these people.
I saw him do it to you in our chat too.
Many times.
We have to
Every
wrap. It's been a pleasure to be with the audience. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Blake. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Charlie Kirk. You are our hero, and you always will be.
We love you, Charlie.
We love you.
We love you.